Chapter 467. The blind black dragon was a tracking snake. Its body was like hair and it had little venom. Its toxicity was slightly stronger than that of ordinary snakes, but it was far less deadly than the other snakes raised by the Snake Lord. At first, Qiang Long Tan only felt that the back of his hand had been pecked by a poisonous snake, and a small red spot appeared on it, like a mosquito bite. Soon, the spot began to slowly expand into a purple-red bruise. With this bruise as the center, the surrounding skin and flesh quickly changed color. In the end, the whole palm turned pitch black, as if it had been dyed by ink. Qiang Long Tan's expression was horrified. He looked at his palm and forgot to swing his knife again. After biting Qiang Long Tan, the blind black dragon fell to the ground. Summoned by the female snake's aura, it took the initiative to rush in the direction of the Snake Lord. The black snake crawled silently along the Snake Lord's shoes, and soon disappeared on the Snake Lord's body. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. Maybe he was already reunited with the female snake. A tuft of black hair scattered on the ground. It was Qiang Long Tan who had felt the danger above his head and swung his knife down. The Snake Lord looked at Qiang Long Tan coldly and said, "Don't move. Don't move. The more you move, the faster the poison will spread in your body. When this black spot spreads to your whole body, your organs will fail and your body functions will degenerate, you will rot and die." The blind black dragon was a tracking snake, and it didn't have strong attack power or strong venom. It tried its best to bite out and spray all the venom in its body, but it could only infect an adult's arm. As for the organ failure and body functions degeneration that the Snake Lord said, it was impossible for the body to rot and die. The smarter a person was, the more suspicious they were, and the smarter they were, the more afraid they were of death. After listening to the Snake Lord's words, Qiang Long Tan didn't dare to move again. The god looked at Fang Yen charmingly and said with a smile, "Oh, you're the pretty boy Fang Yen that Miss Lu is thinking about? Not bad. At first, I thought that the gigolo was just a little good-looking. He had no ability and no sense of responsibility. He only knew how to rely on his natural good looks to play with the feelings of us girls." Fang Yen silently looked at the Lord God's bearded face, as well as the delicate voice and movements when he spoke, and sneered in his heart. "Play with your feelings? In your dreams. I didn't expect you to actually find me, and I didn't expect you to really dare to come. Fang Yen, you're really a man. Such a man was indeed worthy of girls' liking. Miss Lu was willing to die for you, and you were willing to die for her. What a pair of ill-fated mandarin ducks." The fingers of the Lord God rotated gently, and the strangely shaped barbed dagger in his wrist spun one beautiful knife flower after another. Step by step, he walked toward Fang Yen and said, "I like to have a lover. Therefore, I will be very gentle to you." As the Lord God spoke, his body suddenly pounced towards Fang Yen. His feet stamped on the ground, and his burly body jumped high. The dagger in his hand was raised high, and the sharp dagger blade pierced the top of Fang Yan's head. He wanted to insert the dagger in his hand into the top of Fang Yan's head and harvest Fang Yan's life in the most direct and cruel way. When the Lord God stood still, he was like a hill. When he ran and sprinted to attack, his body became as flexible as a rabbit. Moreover, that flexible waist gave people a somewhat enchanting feeling. His body flying in the air made no sound, like a fish swimming in deep water, like an eagle flying in the sky. The dagger he stabbed out did not make any sound, as if the dagger did not have any strength on it. But wherever his dagger passed, there was a pale red light. Fast. His speed was too fast. Because it was fast, the speed left the sound far behind. When you saw the dagger he swung out, the sound of the dagger was still slow to come. It was indeed extraordinary to be able to use a weapon to such an extent. The Snake Lord did not rush up to fight back. He even took half a step in the direction of Lu Chaoga. He used his body to block in front of Lu Chaoga to prevent Feng Xing, who was watching the battle, from hurting Lu Chaoga. He knew that Fang Yen was crazy, and he needed to find an opportunity to vent the anger in his heart. Fang Yen also stood still, as if he was at a loss in the face of the Lord God's attack. Hiss! It was not until the dagger was about to be inserted into the top of Fang Yan's head like a green rainbow that the sound it caused was heard. However, the sound was not the sound of the dagger, but the sound of the air being ignited by the heat wave emitted by the dagger itself. Fang Yen waved his hand. It seemed that it was true. He just raised his right hand towards the air. Then, the Lord God retreated. Fang Yen was surprised, and the Lord God was even more surprised. "How did you do it?" the Lord God asked in surprise. "Just now, what happened?" Fang Yen was surprised that he had just used a move of Dragon Catcher to grab the main vein of the Lord God's wrist, but he had touched nothing. This was not a simple Dragon Catcher, but a Dragon Catcher when the heart of Tai Chi was spinning wildly and the Tai Chi domain had been fully developed. This move should be called Tai Chi Dragon Catcher. The Lord God was surprised that there was someone faster than him. Although the Lord God was burly, he was good at physical flexibility and agility. He learned tap dance from a professional dance teacher when he was a child, and he also participated in world-class tap dance competitions when he was a teenager. It was not until he was discovered by the mutants that he gave up dancing and became the current Lord God. The reason why the Lord God was nicknamed the Lord God was because his attacks were always successful. Within his attack range, no one could avoid his dagger. Just like the divine domain, he was the master of the domain. However, in the process of competing in speed in this round, the Lord God lost to Fang Yen. What he thought was a safe attack had failed. If he had not retracted his saber quickly, Fang Yen would have seized the meridians on his wrist, and he would have become a prisoner. The Lord God was proud, and he would not allow such a failure to happen to him. His fingers kept flicking, and the sharp dagger in his hand seemed to have a life of its own, making dazzling and wonderful knife moves one after another. The Lord God's big beard face stretched out, and he grinned and looked at Fang Yen and said, "Interesting. It's really interesting. No one could keep up with my pace before. I didn't expect to meet an opponent today. It's a pity. I've heard of your name for a long time. 3 years ago, you fought the Japanese sword god Chiba Hashirama at the top of One Sword Peak. I thought you were just undeserved and had been elevated by others. It's really a surprise to try it today. I want to apologize to you. You're not a pretty boy. At least you're not a good-for-nothing pretty boy." The Lord God licked his lips and made a greedy and bloodthirsty gesture. He bowed slightly and the dagger in his hand stopped spinning. He held the dagger upside down in his right hand, stared at Fang Yen with sharp eyes and said, "Tai Chi? Is that the legendary heart of Tai Chi? Although I didn't know what happened just now. Then try to take another move from me." The Lord God's body began to spin, spinning counterclockwise like a top that could summon a hurricane. The strong airflow filled this narrow space. Qiang Longtan's hair was flying in the wind, and even the iron chair was rolled up by him. The Lord God's body turned and spun up. At the same time, he had turned into a vague shadow. Phew! The speed of the Lord God's rotation did not slow down, and he and his knife turned into a tangible but intangible shadow, bursting out with bright cold electricity. Around Fang Yen, he had turned 7 or 8 times in an instant. There were dozens of cold electricity in each circle, stabbing at Fang Yan's body from any possible or impossible angle. Wind shadow knife technique? Fang Yen was secretly surprised that the Lord God's wind shadow knife technique had reached a high level. The naked eye could only catch the shadow of the wind, but could not see the real trace. Each knife seemed to be scattered, but nearly 100 knives were connected to form an impenetrable knife net. A knife was connected to a knife, and a ring was connected to a ring. It made people's bodies tense and their hearts depressed. Killing array. This was the power formed after the great success of the knife technique. Killing with array. As long as you entered the array, there was no place to hide. However, he smiled coldly and said, "You actually dare to show off in front of me with your weak wind shadow saber technique? Who gave you such confidence?" The Lord God's voice came out of the tornado and said, "When I kill you, you will know where my confidence comes from." Fang Yan's words completely angered the Lord God. He spun faster, and the frequency of his knife was higher. Every knife stabbed at Fang Yan's vital point. Fang Yan's eyes were tightly shut, and he stood there without moving. He was waiting for the Lord God to show his true body. Because Fang Yan knew very well that the Lord God's continuous attacks were all illusory move. The real killing move had not appeared yet. The Lord God was looking for the best gap, and Fang Yan was also looking for an opportunity to break the enemy. Fang Yan seemed to be impatient and reached out to grab the black shadow. Chirp! The wind stopped, and the Lord God's body finally appeared. He finally waited for the opportunity and stabbed at Fang Yan's chest. One hit kill. Whoosh! Fang Yan lightly stretched out his hand. As if waiting for 1,000 years, his hand just happened to block the Lord God's attack route. He reached out and grabbed the Lord God's arm in the palm of his hand. "You all deserve to die," Fang Yan said coldly. He really hated these scumbags. Gotcha! Fang Yan used his strength and directly broke one of the Lord God's arms. Chapter 468. Crack. The first sound was the crushing of gravity. It was as if the shell of a peanut in the palm had been crushed. Fang Yan didn't stop there. He was still exerting force with the hand that was holding the Overgod's arm. His expression was cold, and his eyes were filled with killing intent, like a vengeful demon king who had fallen into an extreme state of madness. "You people never know what a lesson is," Fang Yan said coldly. "Since you don't know what a lesson is, I'll let you know what savagery is." Fang Yan's right hand kept kneading, and surging waves of hidden force gushed out. This was the Tai Chi soft force. Although there was the word soft in its name, it was the most brutal and overbearing force. The Overgod's bones were wrapped by the soft force, and then tightened and compressed. Crack, crack, crack. The sound of bones breaking rang out incessantly, like the sound of peanuts being crushed into powder. Fang Yan used the great dragon catcher hand to lock the meridians on the Overgod's wrist, and no matter how hard the Overgod tried, he couldn't break free. When Fang Yan broke the bones in his arm, he felt a heart-wrenching pain. When Fang Yan directed the unparalleled soft force to smash and crush himself again and again, he could no longer feel any pain, because he realized that he had suddenly lost contact with the arm that was holding the saber. It was as if his arm had been cut off by a saber. For a split second, he couldn't feel any pain. Fang Yan looked at the Overgod's frightened and increasingly violent and vicious eyes, and said, "What's the most painful pain? It's not feeling pain, but knowing that something is leaving you." Fang Yixing's death was what Fang Yan felt. This kind of pain was the most corrosive to a person's will, and the most difficult to extricate oneself from. Fang Yan took the dagger from the Overgod's hand, the dagger with barbs on it. At this time, the Overgod no longer had any strength to resist. It was not difficult to beat someone, but it was difficult to send someone away. It was not difficult to send someone away, but it was difficult to take someone away. True experts weren't good at beating people up, but they could easily send people flying a few meters away. It's not hard to give someone away, but it's hard to take someone away. It means that as long as he lightly touches your body, you won't be able to move at all. What Fang Yan was using now was the take formula. Like a dragon bind, it made a supreme expert like the Lord God lose the ability to move. Fear, hatred, helplessness, and other emotions that were hard to describe. "However," he said disdainfully, "is this your so-called wild nature? If that's all, it would be too disappointing. I have to say, in terms of interrogation, you guys are far inferior to us who survived the battlefield. Bookworm, don't you think so?" The bookworm was still lying on the ground. He was tied up with layers and layers of ropes. If one did not rely on external help, it would be very difficult to untie this kind of knot known as the 98 knot. The Lord God still maintained his self-awareness. Unfortunately, this did not affect the battle at all. Is that so? Fang Yen glanced at Bookworm and asked aloud. Yes. Bookworm nodded. Just now they wanted to play with the scarecrow and paint on the scalp. Compared with what you're doing now, it's really much more high-end. Oh, I've heard of scarecrows before. If you stab a living person with knives, the one who stabs the most knives and doesn't die will be the final winner. The last person who gets stabbed will have knives all over his body, just like a scarecrow. What is painting on the scalp? As Fang Yen spoke, the dagger in his hand slammed into the Lord God's heart. The dagger was sharp and didn't require much strength. He didn't use too much strength either. He held the dagger and slowly pushed it into the Lord God's body. Very gentle, and very affectionate. Every time he pushed, the Lord God's expression became more ferocious. With every centimeter, the Lord God's body trembled once. When the blade touched the pericardium, the Lord God's body trembled particularly violently. Although he didn't have the internal vision function, he could clearly feel the movement of the knife in the body, knowing when it pierced the skin, when it pierced the flesh, and when it would pierce the heart. The heart was pierced, and the person was going to die. The Lord God was not afraid of death, because death was another journey for him. However, he was afraid of such a way of death. He was afraid of this kind of feeling that the dagger was swimming in the body, but he didn't have the right to choose to let it move forward or backward. Fang Yen used the knife to tell you that you were going to die, but you didn't know when you would die. This sense of oppression before death was a destruction of confidence and the most powerful blow to the psychological defense line. The knife stopped moving outside the pericardium, but it moved back. There were 12 barbs on the dagger, and every time it moved back, a piece of flesh would be torn from the internal organs. The twitching was also very slow, so that the Lord God clearly felt the pain of his limbs being cut by him. The Lord God finally became a little impatient and said in a fierce voice, "Pretty boy, give me a hard stab if you have the guts, let me die happily. Don't be so wishy-washy like a woman. What kind of friendship do I have with you? Why do you make such a rude request to me?" Fang Yen said sarcastically, "I will let you die painfully, but not quickly." He wanted to slowly torture the Lord God to death. Just like they wanted to torture Lu Chaoga and the bodyguards and secretaries around her to death. Fang Yen turned to look at Qiang Longtan and Feng Xing, who was looking at him calmly, and said, "Don't worry, you two, it will be your turn soon. We are still on the vast sea, whether it is going to the destination you set before or returning, we have a lot of time to be together. Don't worry. Don't worry." Jiang Feng Xing put his hand in his pocket and immediately threatened, "You'd better not move or else, I can take your life without the others doing anything." Jiang Feng Xing turned a deaf ear to such a threat. He still took out a cigarette from his pocket, put it in his mouth, lit the cigarette with a lighter, took a deep puff and blew out a smoke bubble. After that, he looked at the Snake Lord and said, "Can't I even smoke before I die?" The Snake King stared at Jiang Feng Xing, fiddling with a small golden snake in his hand, but didn't answer Jiang Feng Xing's question. He was as sensitive as an animal, and he felt that Jiang Feng Xing was more complicated than he showed. Jiang Feng Xing was not interested in bickering with the Snake King. He looked at Fang Yen and said, "I know you want to kill the Lord God in the cruelest way, then let us suffer in pain and arouse our fear of death. You want to kill us when we beg you for mercy. Wouldn't that give you a greater sense of achievement?" Jiang Feng Xing looked at him with disdain and said, "Winner takes all. If we lose, we lose. We won't beg you for mercy, we won't even negotiate with you. Fang Yen, I know what kind of person you are. I don't expect you to let us go, and I know you won't let us go either. Since we can't negotiate, death is our only choice. So tell me, what's the point of all this? Isn't it just death?" Since we're going to die, what's there to be afraid of? What's there to be coerced? Jiang Fengxing looked at the Lord God with a gentle smile, eyes filled with affection, and said softly, "You go first, I'll follow you." The Lord God felt warm in his heart. He grinned and said, "Good. I'll wait for you down there, but I hope I won't see you. Fengxing, I'm honored to be your woman. The days with you are the happiest days of my life." "Goodbye, Fengxing." The Lord God said goodbye to Jiang Fengxing with affection. When he was about to bite his fangs, a strong poison came from his heart. Because the pain was too great, it made his powerless body even more powerless. The Lord God's teeth were forced to stop, because he no longer had the strength to bite. A fishy taste came from his throat as blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. The dagger went straight into the Lord God's heart. The ominous glint in the Lord God's eyes faded, as did the malice on his face. He looked at Jiang Fengxing with gentle eyes. That was the most beautiful scene before he left. His body gradually softened, then was thrown to the ground by Fang Yen, becoming an abandoned corpse. "God!" Jiang Fengxing shouted with a sorrowful expression. "Fang Yen, you killed my God!" He made to run towards the Lord God, but his feet didn't move forward. He pressed the lighter in his hand. Crack, a light, crisp sound could be heard. The Lord God's body turned into a bomb, exploding with a boom. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere, countless red and white objects covered the floor, turning the cabin into a hell of azura. The man who claimed to love had already planted a bomb in the body of the one he loved. And the engine of the bomb was the lighter in his hand. In the face of danger, he pressed the button without any hesitation. On the battlefield of love, whoever paid more would die more miserably. The Snake Lord reacted quickly, turning around and pushing Lu Chaoga and the secretary to the ground. Although the bookworm was tied up with ropes, he still rolled wildly on the ground to save his life. Jiang Fengxing took the opportunity to turn and run towards the door. He prepared a kayak on the ship. As long as he found an opportunity, he could drive the kayak away from this dangerous place. His right hand pulled open the door of the room, and his left foot had already stepped out. However, his right foot couldn't step out. He felt a chill on his neck, and then his body was lifted back. "I said, you all have to die," the familiar and annoying man's voice said in his ear. Chapter 469. In Neijiang Lake, there was a senior surnamed Lin who had neither high virtue nor high prestige, who once said that the most important rule in Jianghu was only one word: fight if you can win, run if you can't. Jiang Fengxing wasn't a member of the martial world, and he had never heard of this man named Lin. However, he clearly understood that if he didn't run now, he would die. In order to keep the secret of kidnapping Lu Chaoga, they tried their best to reduce the number of people involved. Except for Qiang Longtan, who was the main planner, only Jiang Fengxing and a few people he trusted were responsible for the execution. None of Qiang Longtan's people in the Flower City were useful. Even Qiang Longtan's son Jiang Zhulu and his steward Lu Tong knew nothing about this. Fang Yen came to Jiang Zhulio's wedding to ask for Lu Chaoga, which made Jiang Zhulu extremely angry. He believed that Fang Yen was slandering him, and wanted to ruin his and his father's reputation with this, so that the marriage between the Jiang family and the Jiang family would fail. If Jiang Zhulu knew that his father was on this cargo ship, his expression would be quite interesting, wouldn't it? Now, Fang Yen and his snake-playing friend pushed open the door and walked in, which meant that the few guards outside had all been taken care of by them. Their biggest support, the main god, was already dead, and Qiang Longtan was poisoned by the snake. What else could stop Fang Yen from taking his revenge? "Let me go." Jiang Fengxing didn't have the strength to struggle, so he could only threaten loudly, "Fang Yen, let me go. I'm a member of the Jiang family. You better not touch me. If you dare to touch me, you will become the enemy of the Jiang family. Are you ready?" Do you really want to become the enemy of the Jiang family, a lion? What did you just say the Jiang family is? Fang Yen lifted Jiang Fengxing up, sneered and asked, a lion? So what if it's a lion? Isn't it still an animal? Fang Yen, you! Jiang Fengxing yelled in anger. The Jiang family was the Jiang family, respected and feared by everyone. Because he was a member of the Jiang family, everyone had to hold him high above their heads when he walked outside. To suddenly meet someone who did not place the Jiang family in his eyes, this feeling was rather unfamiliar. I don't want to be enemies with anyone, but if someone wants to hurt the people around me, I won't hesitate to make the whole world my enemy. It doesn't matter if he's a lion or a wolf, a tiger or a mad dog. This was Fang Yan's current state of mind. It was the greatest realization Fang Yixing had after dying in battle. At that time, Fang Yan was kind, passive, undisciplined, and didn't want to take on any responsibilities. He was a young man who didn't want to be enemies with anyone. However, when his father, Fang Yixing, died in battle, and when he rushed over, he could only carry his father's cold corpse back. The pain of being separated by life and death tore his body apart, causing him to grow up overnight. Fang Yen swore in his heart that he would never let the people around him leave again. I don't want to suffer this kind of unbearable pain anymore. Fang Yen, we can talk. Jiang Fengxing's tone eased a bit. He also understood that threatening Fang Yen with the Jiang family wouldn't bring him any benefit. Instead, it would only infuriate Fang Yen even more. You don't have any irreconcilable conflict with the Jiang family. Even if two kids have a small quarrel, the elders in the family won't take it to heart. It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. I am willing to be the middleman between you and the Jiang family, to solve this conflict. In this way we can live in peace and develop together. Isn't that great? Plop! Fang Yen swung his hand and threw Jiang Fengxing's body onto the deck of the room. Jiang Fengxing showed a painful look. It seemed that this fall was quite heavy. Why should I solve the conflict with the Jiang family? Asked Fang Yen. Fang Yen. Jiang Fengxing rubbed his arm, which was hurting from the fall, and said, Do you think that you can live a peaceful life after getting rid of us? Do you think that Dragon Pool and I are the only ones who are interested in the Rubik's Cube? You can ask Lu Zhaoge, you can ask herself, in these few years, how many times has she been in danger? How many assassination attempts has she been through? Are we the only ones who did it? Fang Yen, you have underestimated the attraction of the Rubik's Cube, and your current value. Looking down at Jiang Fengxing, Fang Yen continued, Therefore, I should keep you alive, and ask you to help me talk to the Jiang family, so that we can bury the hatchet. If I'm smart, I will also offer a part of Chaoyan Technologies' shares to them. In this way, the Jiang family won't be interested in me anymore. With the protection of the Jiang family, the others who are interested in me will have to be more cautious. Am I right? Jiang Fengxing threw a sharp glance at Fang Yen and said, Chaoyan Technology has 3 major shares, and the Qin family has a great interest in them. With the Qin family, a true god, we don't need to be afraid of anything. However, it's easy to dodge a spear in the open, but hard to defend against a stab in the dark. One more friend, one more way out. You can be friends with the Qin family, but that doesn't mean you have to be enemies with the Jiang family. That won't do you any good. Chaoyan is developing fast, but it's not a good thing to be controlled by others. Besides, even if you can make billions, you have to make sure that you are healthy so that you can enjoy it. Am I right? Fang Yen looked at Jiang Fengxing with a meaningful smile and said, I understand what you just said. You are still threatening me, aren't you? Fang Yen, I am not threatening you. I am just telling you what kind of choice a smart man should make, said Jiang Fengxing with a sincere look, as if he was thinking for Fang Yan's sake. Why does an egg have to collide with a rock? What's the point of smashing yourself into pieces? So, as a so-called smart man, I should let you go? Fang Yen asked. Jiang Fengxing didn't answer. He thought, isn't this nonsense? I have been talking to you for so long, do you still not understand? If you kill me, won't you become a mortal enemy of the Jiang family? But, if I do that… Fang Yen pointed at the driver, who was lying on the ground without moving, and said, What about him? He is only a driver, but you killed him like this. What about his wife and child? What about his parents? He is only a small person who doesn't affect the big picture. A small person shouldn't live like a small person. If I let you go, what will happen to her? Fang Yen pointed at Lu Chaoga's assistant and said quietly, She also loves her parents and family. She has a man who loves her as much as his own life. She is still so young, and has a bright future. She is not married yet, and she doesn't have children of her own. Such a little girl was humiliated by you and almost killed by you. What will happen to her? Jiang Fengxing wanted to say that she was also a small person, an insignificant chess piece. But when he noticed the look in Fang Yan's eyes, he tactfully swallowed his words back into his stomach. He knew that Fang Yan wouldn't listen to him like this. This stupid guy, those people's life and death, what does it have to do with him? At most, he would just have to pay some money. If he killed him because of these small people, then he would have to fight against the Jiang family to the death. What's more important, can't he even tell this? Fang Yen pointed at Lu Chaoga, who was standing quietly by the bed, and said, She is my best friend, my business partner, and my very, very important family member. I don't know how much she has sacrificed for me, and I think you know it better than me. But you kidnapped her, and used the cruelest way you can imagine to deal with her. If I were to be a smart person, as you said, what would she think? Jiang Fengxing glanced at Lu Chaoga and said in a low voice, Miss Lu is a hero among people, and the most excellent strong woman I have ever met. Besides, I know that she loves you very much. She is a smart person, and she knows what is the best for you. She can forgive this kind of thing. We can talk about any conditions, isn't that right, Miss Lu? Lu Chaoga didn't say anything. Since Fang Yen was already here, everything would be decided by him. If Fang Yen said that they should be released, she would think that Fang Yen was mature, steady, and considerate of the overall situation. If Fang Yen said that they should be killed, she would think that Fang Yen was a man who could distinguish kindness and hatred clearly, and was loyal. She would support all the decisions made by Fang Yen. She thought it was reasonable. I won't forgive you, said Fang Yen. I never believe that negotiations can solve conflicts, because new conflicts will arise after negotiations. If you throw a piece of meat to the wolf will turn around and walk away. But when the piece of meat in its stomach is gone, it will come back to you again for a new piece of meat. Fang Yen stepped on Jiang Fengxing's calf bone and said, The best way to solve conflicts is to make it lose the courage to come back and ask for a fresh piece of meat. Fang Yen suddenly put forth his strength. Crack! A clear cracking noise came, followed by Fengxing's extremely suppressed howl. Blood veins bulged on his forehead. One of his calves had already been broken by Fang Yen, and the bone inside was broken. Fang Yen didn't take his foot back just because Fengxing's calf bone was broken. Instead, he slightly rotated his foot and released strong streams of earth brocade power. Pop, pop, popping noises could be heard without an end. Jiang Fengxing's broken calf bone was suffering from the second wave of earth brocade power. Under the great attack of earth brocade power, the hard bone was crushed into puddles of powder. Fang Yen! Jiang Fengxing roared Fang Yan's name, but eventually, he couldn't say the rest of his words. Then, he directly fainted. Fang Yen looked at Jiang Fengxing, who had fainted, and said in a low voice, If you want to be a bad guy, you should have the awareness of being a bad guy. You do everything you can. When your lives are threatened, you try to solve problems through negotiation. That's not good. It's not fair to the good guys. Fang Yen moved his foot to the other leg of Fengxing, crushing the bone of Fengxing's calf into bone powder, just like what he did just now. After that, he slightly sighed in relief and said, "I'm a good man." Chapter 470. What was the feeling of fainting and waking up again? It was the feeling of hovering between life and death. The first kick of Fang Yen crushed Feng Xing's lower leg bone into ashes, making him pass out immediately. The second kick of Ji Hao crushed the other leg bone of Feng Xing, waking him up from the state of unconsciousness. Feng Xing's face was twisted, and his forehead was soaked in sweat. His face had turned dark purple, making him look like a patient suffering from an incurable disease. "Fang Yen, you bastard! How dare you destroy me?" Only at this moment, he finally had the chance to finish the sentence that he hadn't finished before he passed out. The piercing pain from his legs struck his brain over and over again, letting him know that he had already become a real disabled man. He didn't think that Fang Yen would do this so thoroughly. Qiang Longtan's evaluation of Fang Yen was fair and honest. He had the heart of a rabbit, the IQ of a fox, the eyesight of a vulture, and the appetite of a tiger. He truly had a murderous heart. Fang Yen didn't mind Feng Xing's bad attitude towards him, although he felt that Feng Xing's behavior was quite ungentlemanly. With a calm look, Fang Yen looked at Feng Xing, who was sitting on the ground and howling in pain, and said, "I don't care about being cursed at, but I don't like being cursed at. After all, it's not a pleasant thing." Fang Yen threw a kick towards Feng Xing's arm. Crack! The familiar bone-cracking noise came once again, and Feng Xing passed out again before he could even let out a scream. Fang Yen broke Feng Xing's elbow in the most direct and violent way, making Feng Xing's right arm powerlessly hang down. "Why didn't you kill him?" asked Qiang Longtan. His arm, which was bitten by the blind black dragon, was no longer turning black, and the venom was no longer spreading in his body. Moreover, as time went by, the venom was even fading away. Therefore, Ji Hao had roughly figured out the venom of this snake. Since his life was no longer in danger, he naturally turned his attention back to the fight between Fang Yen and Feng Xing. This was another hidden gate of life and death. Fang Yan's attitude towards Jiang Fengxing had also determined his attitude towards Qiang Longtan. Therefore, Jiang Fengxing's fate was Qiang Longtan's fate. Seeing that Fang Yen had only destroyed Feng Xing's pair of feet and an arm, but didn't kill him directly, he asked out loud, "Did I disappoint you?" Fang Yen turned to look at Qiang Longtan and said in a sarcastic tone, "I killed Jiang Fengxing and started a deadly hatred against the Jiang family. Isn't this better for your own benefit?" "Indeed." Qiang Longtan nodded calmly, without the slightest hint of panic or fear from an impending disaster. This man was indeed extraordinary. Even his enemies found it difficult to underestimate his tenacious nature and forbearance. He was like a harmless-looking bull that could easily gain the trust and goodwill of others. However, when you didn't take any precautions against him, he would stab your heart from behind with his sharp horn. Jiang Fengxing and I were the main planners of this kidnapping. I only used my brain, but all the executors were Feng Xing's chess pieces. If Feng Xing doesn't die, you will never be able to calm down, will you? Do you think that I will be tempted by you to kill him just because you tried to sow discord between us? Fang Yen walked towards Qiang Longtan step by step. "Do you think I'm so childish?" Qiang Longtan sighed slightly and said, "Fang Yen, you're not childish. I haven't seen you for 3 years and you've changed so much. You've grown so much. You've grown so much. You won't believe it, but I'm afraid of you. When you showed up at Zhu Lu's wedding and provoked us like a mad dog, stabbing daggers into our chests over and over again, I started to be afraid of you. I even regretted it. Why did I make such a person my enemy? If we were friends, wouldn't our Jiang family's days be a little better? At least, we would enjoy the same treatment as the Lu and Gu families, wouldn't we? Fang Yen will never be friends with someone like you." Lu Chaoga said in a disdainful voice, "You say you're afraid of Fang Yen, but I'm actually more afraid of you." Qiang Long Tan, there's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. Even if we can't find any evidence to prove that you did it, we already have an answer in our hearts. Why do I hate you so much? Because I knew that you killed my parents a long time ago. No matter how good you are to me, it's all fake. No matter how much you do, it's all fake. How can you expect people to repay you sincerely? Qiang Long Tan shook his head with a bitter smile. He looked at Lu Chaoga and said, Chaoga, for a long time, I did treat you as my own daughter. I only have one daughter, Jiang Zhulu. As you become more and more outstanding, more and more beautiful, I suddenly feel that having a daughter like you is also something to be proud of. It was selfish of me to let you marry Jiang Zhulu. If we were a real family, would you still be arguing about separating from Longtu? If you fell in love with Jiang Zhulu, would you still have the heart to split Longtu group in two? I'm getting older, and Longtu will eventually fall into Julio's hands. To be honest, if it weren't for the flower pot that fell on your balcony, if you had really agreed to marry Jiang Zhulu back then, I would have been more inclined to hand Longtu group over to you. Jiang Zhulu is already a very outstanding child, but compared to your ability, he's still a long way off. You were able to make Chaoyan what he is today in just 2 or 3 years, which has already proven my foresight. Unfortunately, Chaoga, we're not a family. This is the biggest regret in my life. Otherwise, how could I have ended up like this? Fang Yen was really defeated by Qiang Long Tan's shamelessness, although he had already been defeated time and time again by Qiang Long Tan's endless hypocrisy. Even now, he was still thinking of playing the family card? Fang Yen stood in front of Qiang Long Tan and said, I didn't kill Feng Xing because he's more valuable alive than dead. What about you? Give me a reason not to kill you. Qiang Long Tan thought for a long time and said, Killing is against the law. So I won't kill you. Fang Yen squinted his eyes and smiled. Fang Yen glanced at the Snake Lord, who understood. He pursed his lips and blew out a subtle and strange sound. The golden-striped snake in the Snake Lord's hand was driven by the sound of the snake. It immediately jumped to the ground and rushed in the direction of Jiang Longtan. Humans didn't kill people, but animals did. You can't kill me either. Qiang Longtan looked at Fang Yen without blinking. If you kill me, Lu Chaoga will die. Fang Yen looked at Lu Chaoga and saw a sharp blade pressed against Lu Chaoga's neck. Red blood seeped out of the blade of the dagger. It was the dagger Qiang Longtan had used to cut off Njing's hair and paint on her scalp. It was unknown when the dagger had landed in Njing's hands, but she was now using it to hold Lu Chaoga hostage. Don't move, Njing said with a trembling voice. You will die. Lu Chaoga's expression was abnormally expressionless as she said softly, Njing, why do you have to do this? I don't have a choice either. I don't have a choice either. My brother took a lot of money from them. My parents were taken away by them. I received a call from them the moment I woke up. They told me to repay him properly. He's a devil. I have no other choice. If you let him go, he will let my parents go. I don't want my parents to die. I don't want you to die either. I can die, but none of you can die. Njing was undoubtedly an outstanding young lady. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been put in such an important position by Lu Chaoga. She had been promoted from a university graduate to her assistant. She was recognized by her abilities and trusted in her character. However, this was how the world was. Only the people closest to you could hurt you the most. Snake Lord stood in front of Lu Chaoga, while Lu Chaoga stood in front of Njing. Lu Chaoga felt that Njing was injured because of her. She had the responsibility and obligation to ensure her safety and do her best to bring her back. To her surprise, this position helped Njing to deliver the fatal blow. It was indeed unexpected that a girl without the strength to truss a chicken could do such a thing. Don't think it strange. Qiang Long Tan didn't think it was something to be proud of. Or rather, he thought it was something special. We've been keeping an eye on Chaoga, but she's very sensitive and doesn't trust anyone anymore. And Jing is a pawn we can use, but we don't dare get too close to her. We're afraid that we'll alert her and make her lose her value. However, we have been in contact with her brother. All the information about her family and the main members of the family are in my hands. Fang Yan, this is the inspiration I got from you. Didn't you use this trick to get Lu Tong to join your side? If Lu Tong hadn't put on a show with you, we wouldn't have ended up in such a sorry state. Fang Yan, who do you think is truly trustworthy in this world? I trusted Lu Mingtu so much back then, but he still hid the biggest secret of the Rubik's Cube from me. Good people really don't get what they deserve. Fang Yan's expression became gloomy and cold again. He hated it when the people around him left him, so he hated all kinds of actions that could lead to horrible things. Without a doubt, Anjing's betrayal made him hesitate to take action for fear of harming the innocent. No matter what reason they had, it wasn't an excuse for Fang Yan to forgive them. Chapter 471. Never underestimate your opponent at any time. Because no one knew if he had an even more powerful trump card up his sleeve. Qiang Longtan was such a man. He was the perfect combination of a scalper and a dog. After exhausting the diligence and forbearance of a scalper, he finally jumped out and bit people like a dog. Qiang Longtan looked at Fang Yan with a gentle smile and said, "You're a filial child. Your father died in battle and you mourned for 3 years. This isn't something young people nowadays can do. Your father's death made you depressed for a few years, but it also made you learn to cherish your family." Chaoga rejected Zhu Lu's pursuit and focused on building a business empire for you. She's qualified to be your family, right? Fang Yan, if you let her down, how can you feel at ease? Fang Yan was no longer in the mood to talk to Qiang Longtan. In his eyes, this was just a dead man with a high IQ. Fang Yan stared at Anjing and said, "Anjing, put down the knife or you'll regret it. If you dare hurt a single hair on her, Qiang Longtan doesn't even need to do anything. I'll kill your parents and family." Fang Yan's face was filled with murderous intent, like a Shura demon that had just crawled out of hell. "I can't let them go." Anjing's eyes were moist and she said with tears, "I can't let them go. If they let my parents go, they'll die, they'll do anything. I can't let them go." "Be quiet, don't be agitated. Calm yourself down and think about it." Lu Chaoga's voice was gentle and calm as she comforted her. This woman's aura was strong, and her heart was even more determined. Even now, she still maintained absolute calmness, as if the person with the knife against her neck was someone else. "I can understand why you made such a choice. If it were me, I'd make the same choice as you. I'm just your boss, but they're your parents. They're the people who gave birth to you, raised you, and gave you life. For them, I can understand you doing anything. But have you ever thought that even if you kill me, will he let your parents go? You've been with me for 2 years, and this isn't the first time you've dealt with people like Qiang Longtan. You should know that he won't allow what happened today to leak out. If he escapes from here, the first thing he'll do is get rid of your parents." I know, but Anjing cried even more miserably, and her emotions were close to breaking down. Her hand, which was holding the knife, kept shaking. Every time she shook, a shallow cut appeared on Lu Zhaoga's slender neck. The red blood was like a thin red line, and it was slowly spreading forward. "But I don't know what to do. I can't let him go. Boss Lu, can you ask Fang Yan to let him go?" "Lu, Anjing, Lu, Don, Lu, but Lu Chaoga sighed and said, "Anjing, don't you understand? Only by keeping him here can your parents and family be safe and have a chance to survive. If you let him go, they will only die. Whether it's for you or for me, we can't let this person go. Boss Lu, I beg you, scram." Fang Yan suddenly shouted harshly. A majestic force sprayed out from his mouth. This kind of extremely penetrating explosive sound almost burst people's eardrums. Just as Jing was about to say something, she suffered the attack of the Taoist mountain strike mantra that contained inner strength and resembled the Buddhist lion's roar. Her mind went blank for a moment, and there was a roar in her ears. When the thunder in her ears disappeared and her consciousness returned to normal, she found that she had lost the ability to breathe. His neck was gripped by Fang Yan's hand. His feet were off the ground, and he was hung in the air by one of Fang Yan's arms. And Jing was completely dumbfounded by Fang Yan's actions. She had no idea what had happened. Just now, she had clearly held a knife to Boss Lu's neck. Why was it that in the blink of an eye, her neck was being held in someone's hand? And Jing had been following Lu Chaoga and had seen many battles and ambushes, but she still didn't understand what the real underworld was. When everyone spoke, they would naturally focus a portion of their attention on the choice of words and sentences. Otherwise, no one could guarantee that their words had not expressed the meaning they wanted to express. It was the same for Jing. Just as she was seriously about to beg for mercy from Lu Chaoga, Fang Yan suddenly cast the mountain strike mantra that could confuse a person's mind and soul. It instantly froze Jing, a woman with weak willpower. 1 second, or maybe only 1/100th of a second. In less than a blink of an eye, Fang Yan had already entered the Taiji domain. With a step, he flashed behind Jing with drunken crane rides the wind, snatched the dagger from her hand, and lifted her up from the ground, who was still in a daze. I told you that you would regret it. Fang Yan exerted some strength in his palm as Jing's breathing became more rapid. Her face turned an ugly purplish red. Jing instinctively kicked with her hands and feet a few times, but her body's strength was quickly drained due to the loss of oxygen. She glanced at Lu Xiaoga and a relieved smile appeared on her face. This was good too. If she died, she wouldn't have to face such a difficult choice again. Death was the best release. She looked at Lu Xiaoga as her lips moved slightly, but she couldn't make a sound. However, Lu Xiaoga understood and knew that she wanted to say sorry. Fang Yan, let her go. Lu Xiaoga walked in front of Fang Yan and said. The killing intent in Fang Yan's eyes didn't diminish, and he didn't loosen his grip on Jing's arm. He didn't want to let Jing go, even though he sympathized with her. She saved my life, Lu Xiaoga said. Last July, I went to Huaqing Seaview Club for an appointment. When I got out of the car, a gunman sniped at me. She took a bullet for me. Lu Xiaoga touched Jing's shoulder and said, that shot was here. If it wasn't for her, I owe her my life. Plop! Fang Yan threw Jing to the ground, and she lay there coughing violently before taking deep breaths. If Fang Yan had held on a little longer, Jing would probably be a corpse that still had body warmth. Lu Xiaoga saved Jing, but she wasn't as concerned about her injuries as before. You saved my life, so I'll return the favor. You've done your part and I've done mine. But from then on, they were strangers. All the admiration, all the support, all the feelings, and all the anticipation vanished when she held a knife to her neck. Betrayal. This was the greatest harm. It was impossible for Lu Xiaoga to keep a person who had betrayed her by her side. Even if she allowed it, Fang Yan wouldn't allow it. When Qiang Longtan saw how Fang Yan easily broke through his trap and saved Lu Xiaoga, he shook his head and said with a sigh, I've always despised force because I think it's the only choice for people with low intelligence. Now I have to admit that sometimes, force is indeed the best way to solve problems. Of the 3,000 great Daos, only force is undefeatable. I admit defeat. Fang Yan didn't even look at Jiang Zhulu. Instead, he walked over and helped Lu Xiaoga out of the room. Because the overgod's body had exploded, and the body was being corroded by the genetic agent. The air inside was filled with a fishy smell, and it was unbearable to look at. After Fang Yan and Lu Xiaoga left, the Snake Lord's shriveled face revealed an extremely strange smile. He looked at Qiang Longtan and said, How do you want to die? Can you give me a quick death? Qiang Longtan looked at the Snake Lord calmly. He already knew that this moment would come. He had exhausted his mind and used up all his chess pieces, but he still couldn't escape. Now, he could only accept his fate. No, the Snake Lord refused without hesitation. I don't have any grudges against you, and I even like you a little. Only a heartless, ruthless, and vicious person like you is suitable to be a Snake Lord. If only you had followed Master to raise snakes earlier. What a pity, King Longtan said. It was unknown whether he was regretting that the Snake Lord didn't agree to give him a quick death, or that he didn't have the chance to raise snakes with Master. He pointed at the golden snake crawling on the ground and said, "Can you take it back? I know you won't let me die a quick death, and you definitely won't let me die easily. Can you take this little thing back? You can use any other method. If you want, I can be your straw target or play with a scarecrow. I just don't like the feeling of these little things crawling into my body. If it weren't for these little things, I wouldn't have lost so badly, right?" The Snake Lord grinned and said, "Fine. Since you don't like it, I'll take it back." The Snake Lord whistled, and the golden snake crawled into his arm. "Thank you," King Longtan sincerely thanked him. Even at this point, there was still someone willing to agree to his request. He felt that his luck had always been good. Chirp! The Snake Lord whistled again, and a chubby little snake crawled out from his body. The little snake was blood-red in color, and its entire body was made of flesh. It wriggled on the ground as if it didn't have any bones, like a dyed silkworm chrysalis. King Longtan's eyes turned cold, and he had a bad feeling. "Don't be afraid, it's not a snake, it's a blood maggot," the Snake Lord said with a smile. The Snake Lord smiled and said, "It will enter your body and live in one of your internal organs. It can live for a long time. Until it can't find any food, or it gets tired of staying there, it will try to dig a hole outside." Chirp! The Snake Lord whistled again, and the blood maggot rushed towards King Longtan at a speed that didn't match its body at all. It ran to the top of its shoe, and then crawled towards its upper body. King Longtan tried to slap it with his hand, but missed. He jumped and shook with all his might, trying to shake off the blood maggot. But the blood maggot had suction cups under its feet, and no matter how hard he tried, it wouldn't let go. Whoosh! The blood maggot quickly crawled to King Longtan's face, and after probing around with its tentacles, it suddenly drilled into King Longtan's nostrils. Chapter 472. That soft thing very nimbly went into his nostrils. When King Longtan tried to pull it out with his finger, he found that it had already disappeared. It had already entered his body through his respiratory tract, but he didn't know which organ it had fused into. "Snake Lord, why are you so cruel? Your Shifu died because of Fong Yen, yet you are now obedient to him and willing to be his dog. Are you worthy of your dead Shifu and your own conscience?" King Longtan pointed at the Snake Lord and cursed. "What grudge do we have against each other that you have to ruin me and shame my corpse?" Before King Longtan could finish his words, thick blood was already flowing out of his nostrils. He wiped his face with his hand, turning his face into a funny and colorful face. The Snake Lord sneered and said, "King Longtan, you don't need to sow discord. No one knows better than I do how my Shifu died. I'm curious, how did you know that my Shifu was killed by Fong Yen? You will all die. Sooner or later. Either way, you will all die." King Longtan had already become hysterical, because it wasn't just his nostrils that were bleeding, his eyes, mouth, ears, and even every single strand of hair on his body was bleeding. His body didn't feel any pain or itch, and there was nothing wrong with his organs, but his 7 orifices were bleeding non-stop. This feeling of the unknown was even more terrifying. King Longtan didn't want to endure this kind of torture, so he turned around and ran outside. Instead of being made fun of like a demon, he would rather end his life as soon as possible. King Longtan ran to the deck and jumped into the sea without any hesitation. Splash! The sound of water splashing could be heard as his sinful body sank into the unfathomable depths of the sea. The Snake Lord leisurely followed behind him, stood at the edge of the ship and looked at the turbulent sea, then softly said, "Do you really think jumping down will save you?" No one answered his question, because Qiang Long Tan had disappeared without a trace. "I said I won't give you a quick death, and I won't give you a quick death. The blood maggots will corrode your internal organs inside your body, causing you to bleed non-stop. The blood flowing outside will attract a large number of terrifying sharks. The shark at the front will swallow you whole. But your fate isn't over yet. Although you are in the stomach of a shark, the blood maggots are still alive. After it digests, it will escape and enter the shark's body. At the same time, the sharks will suffer the same fate as you. The dead shark will be eaten by more sharks. At that time, which unlucky shark will eat the blood maggot?" The Snake Lord sighed softly and said, "This is the blood maggots that I have been growing for 3 years. After I became a real Snake King, I became qualified to raise blood maggot. It was originally prepared for those people. Qiang Long Tan, you should first experience the infinite cycle of life and never reincarnate, fate." The Snake Lord looked at the sea in the distance and said, "I think you will like this new and vicious thing. Because you are all the same bad people." The sea shrouded in the night was like a mysterious and boundless dark magic mirror. There was not much beauty in it, only the rolling black water and the whistling cold wind. Because it was too big, it was easy to make people feel powerless and afraid. It seemed that if they were not careful, they would be swallowed up together with the ship, and never have the chance to turn over and go ashore. Although it was cold, the air on the deck was much more comfortable than in the cabin. Lu Chaoga took off her coat and covered the driver's face. Fang Yen took off his outer robe and put it on Lu Chaoga. Lu Chaoga refused and said, "I am not cold." "Put it on," Fang Yen said. He knew that when Lu Chaoga said she was not cold, she was worried that he would be cold. This woman always wanted to take care of others out of habit. This kind of small barbarism would not make a woman feel disgusted, on the contrary, it would make a woman feel warm and protected. Lu Chaoga grabbed the front of her coat with both hands to prevent it from being blown away by the sea wind and said, "Qiang Long Tan, don't mention Qiang Long Tan again. We don't know Qiang Long Tan, and we have never seen Qiang Long Tan. None of this has anything to do with us. You were kidnapped, and it was Jiang Fengxing who killed you." Lu Chaoga said with a worried expression, "Are you ready? Are you really going to declare war on the Jiang family?" Lu Chaoga was also a smart person. Fang Yen did not kill Jiang Fengxing, so he naturally wanted to squeeze every last drop of profit from this important person of the Jiang family. He would make the Jiang family pay for this kidnapping. As for the Jiang family, they no longer had the right to pay. After Qiang Long Tan died, the Jiang family, which used to be one of the 4 big families in Huaqing, completely collapsed. The Longtu group was a big fat piece of meat, but not everyone had the right to take a bite. This would depend on the game between Fang Yen and the Jiang family. This man was taking 1 step and looking 3 steps ahead. His thoughts were becoming more and more meticulous. "It's not that I want to declare war on the Jiang family, it's that the Jiang family has already declared war on me," Fang Yen said with a smile. He took out a bottle of white ointment from his pocket, unscrewed the cap, dipped his finger in the ointment, and gently wiped the wounds on Lu Chaoga's neck. The wounds were not deep, but they were still bleeding. If they were not treated in time, scars would be left on the neck. Which woman would be willing to have a few scars on their neck? When Fang Yan's finger touched Lu Zhaoga's wound, Lu Zhaoga let out a soft His body trembled slightly as if he would fall at any time. Fang Yan's finger touched Lu Zhaoga's wound. "What's wrong?" Fang Yan asked. "Does it hurt?" "It doesn't." Lu Chaoga's cheeks were slightly red. She thought that it was fortunate that it was dark, so Fang Yan might not be able to see clearly. "It's just a little itchy, I'm not used to it, I say," Fang Yan said. He used the finger that was stained with ointment to carefully wipe Lu Chaoga's neck. Lu Chaoga also raised her head high, her slender neck perfectly presented in front of Fang Yan's eyes. She did not look at Fang Yan's eyes, but looked at the vast and dark sea where nothing could be seen. This is not the golden chrysalis skin nourishing powder, it's the snow snake ointment I got from my friend. The effect of snow snake is not worse than the golden chrysalis, it's just too hard to find. Fang Yan applied it to all the wounds on Lu Chaoga's neck, then put the half bottle of snow snake ointment in Lu Chaoga's hand and said, "You keep this bottle." If there were any bumps, he would immediately apply a layer of it. After the wound is healed, there will not be any scars left, and the skin will be smooth and shiny, just like the skin of the snow snake. Lu Chaoga refused and pushed the snow snake ointment to Fang Yan's hand. "It's too expensive. I can't take it," Lu Chaoga said. "You gave your life to me, and I'll give you a bottle of snow snake ointment. What is it worth?" Fang Yan said strangely. When did this woman become so wishy-washy? She was not the kind of woman who would put a bottle of snow snake ointment in her eyes. "I think," Lu Chaoga's gaze swept to the distant sea and said, "maybe your technique is more professional. If you help me apply it, the effect might be better." Fang Yan was stunned for a while, then put the snow snake ointment back into his pocket and said, "That makes sense." Lu Chaoga let out a sigh of relief. Fang Yan didn't refuse. This was something to be happy about. She was willing to pay, but Fang Yan might not be willing to accept. Sometimes there were too many scoundrels in life. "Your face is red," Fang Yan said. Lu Chaoga was a bit annoyed. This guy, he must be doing it on purpose. Fang Yan suddenly reached out and pulled Lu Chaoga into his embrace. He said emotionally, "You don't know how worried I was when I found out that you were kidnapped. Jiang Zhulu was sitting across from me at the time, and I had the urge to tear him apart. I was too scared that the people I cared about would leave me. The feeling of not being able to see you again in this life is too terrifying. Just thinking about it makes me feel cold all over and despair seep into my bones. I really can't imagine what kind of crazy things I'll do if you don't come back. Chaoga, I apologize. I admit, ever since you hid the truth from me about your aunt, I've been on guard against you. I wanted to get close to you, but there was always a barrier in my heart." "I know," Lu Chaoga lay in Fang Yan's arms tiredly and said, "I could feel it. All the responsibility was on me, so I never felt wronged. But later, you sacrificed so much for me. I left for 3 years, and you held on for 3 years. I mourned for 3 years, and you worked hard for 3 years. I thought about it peacefully for 3 years, and you fought openly and secretly for 3 years. This kidnapping was just a continuation of the previous traps. I thought, if it wasn't this time, if it was the previous time, if it was any other time in the past 3 years, if I wasn't there at that time, if you were kidnapped, would I be the biggest sinner? If something happened to you, how could I be worthy of what you've done for me? How could I live up to my own conscience? Fang Yan, this is something I'm willing to do. It's also the only thing I can do. I said that I would bring Chaoyan technology to a higher level, and I want the whole world to look up to you. If a man wants to fight on the battlefield, a woman will choose a good horse with a golden saddle and sew an indestructible armor for him. Chaoyan is your strongest armor." Fang Yan hugged Lu Chaoga tightly and said, "I won't let anyone hurt you anymore. I promise." Because Fang Yan hugged her too tightly, Lu Chaoga felt that she couldn't breathe properly and was about to suffocate. But she was really greedy for this feeling of being protected. Chapter 473. Clang. The room door was pushed open. The thick smoke that had gathered in the room finally found a way out and surged toward the door. The woman who was about to enter the room was suffocated by the smoke and started coughing violently. She stood at the door for a few seconds and waited for some fresh air to enter the room. Then, she pinched her nose and walked into the room. She rushed to the window sill and opened all the windows in the room. After the smoke had dissipated, she released her nose and said in a displeased tone, "Jiang Zhulu, why did you smoke so much? Are you trying to poison yourself to death?" Piak. The woman turned on the lights in the room and saw Jiang Zhulu smoking on the sofa in the corner of the room. Jiang Zhulu looked very disheveled. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, no one would believe that one of the famous 4 talents of watching, the eldest young master Jiang, would be in such dire straits. His hair was messy and his face was yellowish. His clothes were messy and his eyes were bloodshot. He was still holding a cigarette between his fingers. The smoke flickered, and the ashes burned for a long time without being flicked away. Wine bottles were casually thrown on the ground, and the expensive carpet was burned by the fireworks, leaving holes of different sizes. It looked like a tattered rag that had been used for a long time. Jiang Shangxin raised her eyebrows and said, "Jiang Zhulu, is this how you should behave? Is this how a man should behave? If that's all there is to it, then it's too disappointing." "What did you say?" Jiang Zhulu looked up and stared at Jiang Shangxin with his bloodshot eyes. As he smoked too much, his throat was already hoarse from the smoke. "I said that you are a coward, a coward. You are very, very disappointing." Jiang Shangxin stood arrogantly at the door of the room and looked at Jiang Zhulu coldly. Jiang Zhulu pressed the cigarette butt into the ashtray and suddenly pounced toward Jiang Shangxin. Jiang Shangxin wanted to turn around and escape, but Jiang Zhulu grabbed her waist from behind. "Jiang Zhulu, you are a coward, you are a coward! Let go of me, let go of me!" Jiang Shangxin shouted. However, in Jiang Zhulu's villa, those who were qualified to enter were not around, and those who were here did not have the right to enter. No one would respond to Shangxin's cries. Not only did Jiang Zhulu not let go of Shangxin, he hugged her even tighter. He pressed Shangxin's body against the door and reached out to lift her skirt. He grabbed the hem of her skirt and pulled off her underwear. Jiang Zhulu didn't even unbuckle his belt or take off his pants. He just unzipped it and entered in an extremely rude and unreasonable manner. The gentleman of the past had lost all pretense, etiquette, and honor at this moment. He only wanted to find a way to vent the violence and fear in his heart. It just so happened that Shangxin was here. To him, this was the best way. Jiang Shangxin struggled with all her might, but she was far less forceful than Jiang Zhulu, who had descended into a state of madness. Rape is like life. If you can't resist, then just quietly enjoy it. Jiang Shangxin finally calmed down. As she laid her hands on the door and stopped moving, she stuck out her buttocks and welcomed Jiang Zhulu's repeated attacks. After the storm subsided, Jiang Zhulu collapsed weakly on her back. He silently lifted Shangxin's skirt up and tidied his own clothes. As a noble lady, she had to make herself appear as calm and elegant as possible. After tidying Shangxin's clothes, she turned around and helped Jiang Zhulu to zip up his pants. Then, she helped him to the sofa. "I'm sorry." Jiang Zhulu lay on the sofa and said in a low voice, "There's nothing wrong with adding some spice." Jiang Shangxin said expressionlessly, "I mean..." Jiang Zhulu's mind went blank, and he tried hard to think of his words. "My performance has disappointed you. All along, I felt that I was very strong and calm. There was nothing that I couldn't do, and there was no opponent that I couldn't win against. Now, I know that it was all because of my father's strong support. I'm not strong because I'm strong, and I'm calm because of my father. Subconsciously, I always thought that it's okay if I don't do well. If I don't do well, there's still my father to help me and the Jiang family to support me. They will always help me get the final victory. In the past, I didn't want to admit it and always wanted to do something to prove myself, to prove to others and to my father. I want to tell them that I can do what my father can do. Now, I know that I can't do what he can do. Without me, the Jiang family won't suffer any losses. But without my father, it will be unstable. Jiang Shangxin reached into her bag and took out a lady's cigarette. She took out a stick and put it in her mouth. The thin and long stick complemented her delicate red lips and gave off a strange sense of temptation and beauty. You haven't found them yet? Jiang Shangxin puffed out a mouthful of smoke and asked. No. Jiang Zhulu shook his head. He reached out to touch the box of cigarettes, but realized that it was empty. Jiang Shangxin passed her cigarette over. Jiang Zhulu waved his hand and said, I'm not used to it. My father hasn't been found either. Jiang Shangxin said. Jiang Zhulio's face was full of worry and he said, Where do you think they went? Did they leave alone or together? Why did they leave so secretly and in such a hurry? Why didn't they say anything when they left? Why didn't they leave a message? They didn't even say anything because they didn't want to alarm anyone. They didn't say anything because they knew that they would definitely be able to come back. Where exactly did they go? Jiang Zhulu asked confusedly. Jiang Shangxin crossed her long legs and stared at Jiang Zhulu coldly. You really don't know? Jiang Zhulio's expression froze and he said embarrassedly, I only suspected it, but I didn't have any evidence to support it. Other than the kidnapping of Lu Chaoga, what else was there for them to disappear so mysteriously? You mean, the two of them worked together to kidnap Lu Chaoga? Jiang Zhulu asked in shock. Why? Feeling sorry for her? Jiang Shangxin laughed coldly. Reaching out, Jiang Zhulu pulled Shangxin into his embrace and said, Shangxin, do you think that I would still have such thoughts at this stage? Lu Chaoga and I are already a thing of the past. You are the wife that I have officially married. How do you know that they left because of this? My father has always denied this matter and didn't reveal anything to me. My mother said so. Jiang Shangxin said, The outside world always thought that my father was highly regarded by the Jiang family because of his outstanding abilities. In fact, he was just an idiot. Because my father had some special fetishes, the Jiang family always felt that they had let my mother down. Therefore, many of the important businesses had been handed over to my mother to manage. My mother was not inferior to any man and managed all the businesses in an orderly manner. She even earned more than some of the businesses that the men were in charge of. The Jiang family couldn't push my mother away directly, so they could only push all the credit to my father. He really picked up a huge bargain. Jiang Zhulu knew that his wife, Jiang Shangxin, did not have a harmonious relationship with his father. Even the speech at the wedding was made by his mother. His father, Jiang Fengxing, did not even have a chance to speak. Now that he heard her say that his father had some special fetishes, Jiang Zhulu knew that those obscure rumors were actually true. Jiang Shangxin extinguished the cigarette but in her hand, as if she was strangling some of her bad mood. Although my father was a bit of an idiot, he still knew to discuss with my mother before he did anything. My mother would help him analyze what he could do and what he couldn't do. This time, he left without saying goodbye, which meant that he wanted to do something that he didn't want all of us to know. Moreover, when Fang Yan made a scene at our wedding, my father dragged us away. I asked my mother about Fang Yan's motive for doing this. My mother said that flies don't stare at seamless eggs. At that time, I only thought that even my mother had been convinced by Fang Yan's vivid performance. Jiang Zhulio's expression became increasingly solemn. He looked at Jiang Shangxin and asked, If the two of them really did this together, what do you think the outcome would be? Give up, they won't be able to come back. Jiang Shangxin said, If they haven't come back now, they won't be able to come back in the future. Yes. They didn't want others to know about this secret, so they could only keep their mouths shut. They knew that if they didn't come back now, more people would be alerted. Therefore, no matter what the reason was, they would definitely rush back in the shortest time possible. Now that they haven't come back, they probably... Jiang Zhulio's eyes turned red. He was different from Jiang Shangxin. He had deep feelings for his father. He didn't want anything to happen to his father, nor did he want to end up in a tragic situation where he would never be able to see his father again. At this moment, he really hated Fang Yen and was extremely afraid of Fang Yen. This man, Fang Yen, was simply the longest nightmare of his life. Jiang Shangxin looked at Jiang Zhulu and said, "I am here to see if you have made the final decision. If something happened to Qiang Longtan and Jiang Fengxing, it would prove that their kidnapping of Lu Chaoga had been exposed. Fang Yen could either kill them or use them as pawns to negotiate with the Jiang family. If Fang Yen chose the first option, the Jiang family would be in trouble. If Fang Yen chose the second option, the Jiang family's general family would face a serious disaster. If Qiang Longtan wasn't around, Jiang Zhulu would be the head of the Jiang family. What choice would he and the Jiang family's Longtu group make?" Chapter 474. The so-called final decision was that the situation was not right and they needed to make early preparations. Although Jiang Zhulu was feeling uneasy because of his father's disappearance, he was not a person who liked to drag things out. He got up from the sofa and walked to his desk. He took out a document from the desk drawer and handed it to Jiang Shangxin. "Sign here." Jiang Shangxin took the document and glanced at it. Then, she looked up at Jiang Zhulu and asked, "You don't trust me?" Jiang Zhulu sat down and put his arm around Jiang Shangxin's shoulders. "It's not that I don't trust you. On the contrary, you are the only person I can trust in this world. My dad is gone and my mom doesn't care about the company's matters. Who else can I trust?" Jiang Shangxin pointed at a clause in the document and asked, "What does this mean?" Jiang Zhulu knew what her misunderstanding was and explained, because of Lu Chaoga's deceit, the Longtu group had always been the battleground between the Jiang and Lu families. After that, the Jiang family mediated in the middle, and we spent a lot of money to buy back all the shares of the Longtu group from the Lu family. Now, Longtu belongs to the Jiang family completely. However, can the Jiang family still hold on under such circumstances? I can understand why you sold 49% of the shares to the Jiang family for 1 billion in cash. If the Jiang family did not stand up for you, Fang Yen and the other families would not let go of the cake of Longtu. The cake was too tempting, and the Jiang family did not have the power to protect it. They could only rely on external forces. However, why did you transfer 20% of the shares to me? Are you worried that I will leave you at this time? Husband and wife are one. Jiang Zhulu hugged Shangxin's body tightly and said, "At the wedding, I said that no matter if we are poor or rich, in health or in sickness, I will love you from the start. Shangxin, since I made a vow in front of so many guests, I will definitely keep my word. What is mine is yours. I am willing to share all my wealth and everything with you." Jiang Shangxin planted a kiss on Jiang Zhulio's affectionate face and said, "Don't worry, what's ours is still ours. No one will take it away from us." Jiang Shangxin readily signed the document and kept it in her bag. Then, she said to Jiang Zhulu, "I will go back and discuss with my mom now. I will ask her to help me settle the matter of transferring the shares to the Jiang family as soon as possible." "Shangxin, it has been tough on you." Jiang Zhulu held Shangxin's hand and said with a face full of pity. After Shangxin got up and left with her bag, Jiang Zhulu walked to the window and watched as Shangxin walked to the courtyard of the villa. As if she had sensed Jiang Zhulio's gaze, Jiang Shangxin turned around and smiled at him. "Drive slowly," Jiang Zhulu instructed gently as he waved goodbye to Shangxin. She was like a sweet lover who was deeply in love and reluctant to part. Jiang Shangxin nodded and entered the red sports car that she had driven over. Very quickly, she drove away. The gentleness in Jiang Zhulio's eyes disappeared and the smile on his face disappeared. He coldly spat out 2 cold words, "whore." Jiang Zhulu returned to his desk, took out a pencil from the pen holder, and started writing on a piece of white paper. After a long while, After a long while, when the sky got darker and Jiang Zhulu thought that he couldn't wait any longer, the cell phone that was placed on the side of the table suddenly rang. Jiang Zhulu held onto the cell phone and didn't answer it immediately. Instead, he waited for the cell phone to ring 3 times before he answered the call. He said, "I have a strong smell of smoke on me. I am taking a shower. Shangxin, what's the matter?" "I have talked to my mom. It is a must to transfer a portion of the shares to the Jiang family. However, my mom said that the energy industry is the supporting industry of the future. With the scale of the Longtu Group, selling 49% of the shares for 1 billion yuan is too cheap. She is willing to use the funds under her control to make this deal with you. Buy 30% of the shares of the Longtu Group for 3 billion yuan. Do you think this plan is feasible?" "That's great." A mocking sneer appeared on Jiang Zhulio's face. "However," he said passionately, "our mom is still the most thoughtful. If we only need to sell 30% of the shares, then I can transfer another 10% of the shares to you. In this case, the Longtu Group will still be under our control. As a married couple, we will be of one mind. Even though we have to give away a portion of the shares, if we expand our business, we will be able to make up for our losses in the future. Isn't that right, Shangxin?" "Yes," Jiang Shangxin said in a gentle voice. "I believe in you. Shangxin, I miss you. Can you come and accompany me?" "Zhulu, I miss you too. However, my mom needs someone to accompany her too. My dad hasn't been found yet either. See you tomorrow then." Jiang Zhulu hung up the phone and hid in the darkness once again. He would have to live like this for a long time in the future. When Fang Yen was practicing in the courtyard, he heard a sound behind him. Fang Yen turned around and saw Lu Chaoge, who was dressed in white pajamas, leaning against the windowsill and looking down. "Are you awake?" Fang Yen asked with a smile. "Yes." Lu Chaoge smiled and nodded. She seemed to be in a good mood. "Go downstairs and eat something after washing up," Fang Yen said. "I have already prepared breakfast." "Okay. I will go downstairs now," Lu Chaoge said. However, she did not turn around as she looked at Fang Yen, who was practicing on the lawn. Fang Yen smiled and started to practice his drunken crane riding wind steps again. He had not been idle during the 3 years of mourning. He had thought about many problems, read countless books, understood the principles of the heart of Taiji, and understood the secrets of the drunken crane riding wind step. The more he researched, the more he realized how profound the heart of Taiji and the drunken crane riding wind steps were. Furthermore, he realized that the two of them complemented each other. The heart of Taiji was the wind, and the drunken crane riding wind steps were the sails. When the wind blew, the sails would expand, and the body, which was a big boat, would be able to ride the wind and waves to its fullest potential. Therefore, Fang Yen had spent most of his time and energy on this in the past few years. Every day when he got up, he would walk a few laps. Lu Chaoge did not go to work for the past few days. She had been kidnapped. Both her body and mind were seriously injured. She needed some time to rest and adjust. Lu Chaoge's kidnapping made Fang Yen re-examine the relationship between the two. The estrangement between the two disappeared, and the grudge in his heart melted. He once again realized that Lu Chaoge was a very important friend to him. Fang Yen did not go to work. He chose to stay at home to take care of Lu Chaoge's daily life. Previously, these things were done by Lu Chaoge herself. It was also because she wanted to choose her favorite food that she was kidnapped after leaving the mall. Fang Yen soaked the lemon slices in warm water because Lu Chaoge drank several glasses of lemon water every day. It was said that this had the effect of detoxification and whitening, but Lu Chaoge was already so white that there was no need for whitening. Fang Yen was in charge of 3 meals a day. Breakfast was millet porridge and boiled eggs because Lu Chaoge did not like to eat fried food. Lunch was tomato scrambled eggs, scalded vegetables, or braised fish. Lu Chaoge liked to eat fish. It was nutritious and not easy to get fat. Women liked it more than meat. Dinner depended on Lu Chaoga's appetite. Whatever Lu Chaoga ordered, Fang Yen would cook. His cooking was not bad, but it was not as good as Lu Chaoga's. After Fang Yen finished practicing, Lu Chaoga had already finished breakfast and was watching TV on the sofa in the living room. Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yen and quickly looked away. Fang Yan's whole body was wet. His clothes were sticking to his body. His thick chest was pushed up high, and his strong arms were full of masculinity. Fang Yen practiced Nigong, so the difference between him and other martial artists was very obvious. His body was not big, and he did not have obvious muscles like a bodybuilding model. But if you took off his clothes, you would find that there was not a trace of fat on his body. Every piece of his skin seemed to be carefully carved and polished. Moreover, because of the protection of qi, there was a layer of pale white luster on his body. Those who did not know would only think that this person was healthy and full of vitality. But those who knew would understand that this person was overflowing with divine light and was certainly not a villager. For Lu Chaoga, Fang Yan's outfit was a little tempting. "I will take a shower and then accompany you to the yard for a walk," Fang Yan said. "Okay." Lu Chaoga nodded her head and agreed. Fang Yan took a shower and went downstairs. When he was about to take Lu Chaoga for a walk in the neighborhood, he realized that there were guests at home. Jiang Shangxin, Jiang Zhuliu's fiancé. The Jiang family, or rather, the Jiang family, had finally come knocking. Lu Chaoga was still watching the television and had no intention of talking to Jiang Shangxin. Jiang Shangxin sat on the sofa and drank tea. Her eyes were also fixed on the television screen, as if the program was very tempting. When she saw Fang Yan coming downstairs, Jiang Shangxin put down the teacup in her hand and stood up. She said, "Mr. Fang, I want to talk to you." Fang Yan looked at Jiang Shangxin and asked, "What do you want to talk about?" "About Miss Lu," Jiang Shangxin said. Fang Yan looked at Lu Chaoga and smiled. "She is very good, there is no need to talk about it." "Then let's talk about those bad people." Jiang Shangxin looked at Fang Yan stubbornly and continued. Fang Yan's eyes turned cold. He smiled and said, "What do those bad people have to do with me? Why do I have to talk about them? It is such a good morning, will it affect my appetite and mood?" Jiang Shangxin knew that she would be ridiculed by Fang Yan, and this treatment was completely within her expectations. She looked at Fang Yan and said, "In that case, let's not talk about Miss Lu or those bad people. Let's talk about business." Chapter 475. Business. Fang Yan laughed. "We can talk about this. Who would be willing to reject something that could earn them money?" Fang Yan pressed on and forced Shangxin to retreat again and again. Jiang Shangxin wanted to talk about Lu Chaoga because she wanted to talk to Fang Yan about the ending of the kidnapping incident. Fang Yan said that Lu Chaoga was safe and sound and there was no need to talk about it. If Lu Chaoga was safe, Fang Yan would have the upper hand in the negotiation. Jiang Shangxin could only talk about the fate of the bad people, because those bad people were her father and father-in-law. Fang Yan could not care less, but she could not. Fang Yan still refused, and said that talking about those bad people would affect his appetite and mood. In that case, Jiang Shangxin could only erase her father and father-in-law and make them a deal. Yes. The two lives of Jiang Fengxing and Qiang Longtan were the contents of their deal. How humiliating and how helpless he was. This Fang Yan really did not want to save any face for the Jiang family and the Jiang family. Jiang Shangxin looked at Fang Yan and asked, "Name a price." Fang Yan walked to Lu Zhaoga's side and sat down. Leaning back slightly, he crossed his legs and looked at Jiang Shangxin, who was standing in front of him. He said, "There are no outsiders in the house, why don't you speak more clearly? My emotional quotient is high, but my intelligence is not. I can't understand what you are saying at all, and I will think that you are insulting me. Fang Yan, Jiang Shangxin looked slightly angry. Fang Yan's repeated provocations had indeed used up a lot of her patience. Jiang Shangxin was also a beauty that was 1 in a million. She was tall and had a height of 1.7 meters with her naked body. Her 2 slender and well-proportioned legs could instantly attract all the men's attention. She was beautiful and looked very much like a celebrity who was popular across the 3 provinces. She was slightly thinner and looked a little frail. However, women from rich and powerful families had their own elegance, which made up for this little deficiency in their bodies. I'm listening, Fang Yan said. Looking at Fang Yan's clear and deep eyes, Jiang Shangxin finally calmed down. The hostility in his heart dissipated, and he once again gathered his spirit to overcome the difficulties before him. He had almost forgotten that this was the man who caused Jiang Junling, the proud son of the Jiang family, to be rebuffed. Well, as Mr. Fang Yan said, there are no outsiders in this room, so we might as well lay it out. Miss Lu Chaoga was kidnapped, and we really want to know the truth of this matter. This matter has nothing to do with you. Why are you asking for the truth? Fang Yan asked back. Perhaps there's some misunderstanding? Do you still think this is a misunderstanding? Fang Yan sneered. If you think this is a misunderstanding, then let's end our conversation today. We don't have to do business. Jiang Shangxin clenched her teeth and said, Fang Yan, what do I have to do for you to let my father go? Your father? Fang Yan's gaze became playful and he said, Where is your father? Has he gone missing? If he has gone missing, you should call the police immediately. Why did you come to me instead of asking the police to help you find him? Fang Yan. Jiang Shangxin felt that her breathing had become uneven again. Her chest heaved up and down, outlining a beautiful arc. This woman was so skinny, but her breasts were so ample. She was indeed a rare beauty. Jiang Shangxin sensed where Fang Yan was looking at, but she did not care about it. She looked at Fang Yan with a determined gaze and said, Mr. Fang Yan, I have been honest with you, but you are not honest enough. Honest with you about what? I told you that I was the one who took your father away. Is this considered being honest with you? All right. I admit that my father was at fault in this matter. They may have been involved in Miss Lu Chaoga's kidnapping. However, Miss Lu is safe and sound now. I want to bring my father and father-in-law back. Name your conditions. Just involved. Fang Yan, if you don't even have the courage to admit your crimes, then I doubt the sincerity of your negotiation. Since you are not sincere, then there is no need to negotiate. If I want them, I will personally go to your place and get them back. Jiang Shangxin's face was as cold as frost, and her chest rose and fell even more intensely. Fang Yan passed the lemon water on the marble coffee table to Lu Chaoga and said, Drink more water. Lu Chaoga took the lemon water and drank a big mouthful. She held the glass and continued to watch a matchmaking show on the television. It was as if she had nothing to do with what was happening in the living room. Since she had already handed everything over to Fang Yan, she gave him 100% trust. She knew that Fang Yan could handle it better than her. Fang Yan also accompanied her to watch the television and was even amused by the contents of the television from time to time. The atmosphere was warm and harmonious, and they had completely entered the world of just the two of them. Jiang Shangxin suddenly felt that she had become an outsider. Please, I am the guest, okay? Do you guys know how to behave according to Huasia's etiquette? Please, I am here to negotiate with you guys. Do you guys have any business literacy? How did you guys become an existence that was ignored by others? Jiang Shangxin walked straight to Fang Yan, stared into Fang Yan's eyes and said, Fang Yan, I want to bring them away today. Who? My father, Jiang Fengxing, and my father-in-law, Qiang Long Tan. Bring them away then. What has it got to do with me? They are in your hands. Fang Yan looked a little unhappy and said, Why do you say that they are in my hands? I have never seen them. Fang Yan, I apologize to you. I also sincerely apologize to Miss Lu Chaoga. I know that they are the masterminds behind the kidnapping of Miss Lu Chaoga. They have done something that is morally and legally unforgivable. They are sinners, but they are still my family. I hope that I can bring them back. You can state a condition that you are satisfied with. Please believe in our sincerity. I believe you this time. Fang Yan smiled and said. He took out a voice recorder from his pocket and pressed the play button on it. Fang Yan and Jiang Shangxin's conversation immediately sounded from the recording. From the beginning to the end, every word was recorded clearly. Fang Yan had forced her time and time again to tell the truth. When Jiang Shangxin saw Fang Yan take out the voice recorder, there was no surprise or fear on her face. Obviously, she had expected such a thing to happen. Jiang Shangxin looked at Fang Yan, who was playing with the recording pen excitedly, and said, "Since I'm here, I'm already prepared to bear all the mistakes. This thing won't be of much use anyway. If you admit to your crimes, this thing will not be of much use. If you do not admit to your mistakes, this thing will be of great use. I will get someone to post it on the internet and let the netizens all over the world download it for free. What do you think of this idea?" "Fang Yan, we can talk about the terms of cooperation," Jiang Shangxin said. She was not worried that Fang Yan would really throw the voice recorder on the internet. This was not beneficial to her side, but what good would it do to him? Fang Yan kept the voice recorder and looked at Jiang Shangxin. "It is a good thing that you have the courage to stand up and admit your mistakes on behalf of your elders. However, there are some discrepancies between the truth and what you think." Jiang Shangxin's heart skipped a beat and she asked anxiously, "What discrepancies?" Fang Yan patted Lu Chaoga's shoulder and said in an unfriendly tone, "Chaoga was indeed kidnapped by your relatives, but there is only one person who conspired to kidnap Chaoga, and that is your father, Jiang Fengxing. As for Qiang Longtan, I have never seen him before. I don't know where he went either. Why don't you get someone to look for him again?" Jiang Shangxin's eyes turned cold and she said, "Fang Yan, did you kill him? Murder is against the law. How could I do such a thing?" Fang Yan hurriedly denied it. "Even if I feel that he deserves to die 1,000 times or 10,000 times, I will never do something like that to silence him." "How ruthless!" Jiang Shangxin sneered and said. "You hated Qiang Longtan, or rather, you were afraid of Qiang Longtan, so you simply killed him and put an end to everything. Then, you pushed the responsibility of his death onto the living. For example, my father, am I right? Qiang Longtan's life doesn't mean much to me. His death wouldn't have any effect on me. Of course, from a personal point of view, this is a very satisfying thing. If I know which hero did it, I will definitely treat him to a drink. Ask him later if it was your father who did it. If it was him, I will treat him to a drink too. The old master is doing good for the people, and he is doing good for the Jiang family. This is what the Jiang family lacked." Jiang Shangxin suppressed the anger in her and said, "We admit that we kidnapped Miss Lu Chaoga. We will also admit to Qiang Longtan's death if there is a need. Our only request is to take my father away." Jiang Shangxin wasn't stupid, and neither was the Jiang family. Since they had already determined that Jiang Fengxing and Qiang Longtan were the masterminds behind the kidnapping of Lu Chaoga, and now that Lu Chaoga and Fang Yan had returned safely, it proved that the two unlucky fellows had been controlled by someone else. What kind of evidence was better than a living witness? As long as Feng Xing and Qiang Longtan were in Fang Yan's hands, Fang Yan would always have the right to speak and take the initiative. Jiang Fengxing and Qiang Longtan were like two whips in his hands, and whenever he was in a bad mood, he would whip them in their faces. The feeling of being beaten up passively was too uncomfortable. Furthermore, they knew Fang Yan too well. They knew that he was ruthless, vicious, and would not play by the rules. He would not give the Jiang family or the Jiang family any face. Since that was the case, They might as well take the initiative and take the hostages back from Fang Yan's hands. Since they had to negotiate, it was better to talk earlier than later. Problems had to be solved, and it was better to solve them earlier than later. Fang Yan looked at Jiang Shangxin and said, "Since you are so sincere, give me 30% of the shares of Longtu Group." Jiang Zhulu had indeed done such a thing. Qiang Longtan and Jiang Zhulu owned 100% of the shares of the Longtu Group. Jiang Shangxin's mother, Li Yun, used the Jiang family's investment fund to buy 30% of the shares of the Longtu Group. Coincidentally, the Jiang family was behind Li Yun. This was considered as Jiang Zhulyo's proof of allegiance to the Jiang family. As for the rest of the shares, Jiang Zhulu divided them into 2 portions. He kept one portion for himself and transferred the other portion to his own name. Now, Fang Yan directly asked for 30% of the shares. That was rudely cutting away the portion that belonged to him. Fang Yan knew that his guess was correct when he saw Jiang Shangxin's expression. Fang Yan looked at Jiang Shangxin and said, "Admit that you are the murderer who kidnapped Lu Chaoge and take responsibility for Qiang Longtan's disappearance. 30% of the shares is my lowest price. If you feel that you have committed a heinous crime and want to make up for it, we are fine with that. If you don't agree to my conditions, I will personally go to your door to get it. When that time comes, I will ask for more. A little more than I want right now." Jiang Shangxin stared at Fang Yan sharply and said, "Fang Yan, aren't you afraid?" "Afraid of what?" "You are declaring war on the Jiang family." Fang Yan squinted his eyes and smiled. He said, "You just realized it? 3 years ago, you realized it after I slapped Jiang Junling's face until it was swollen." Jiang Shangxin turned and left without saying a word. "Will they agree to it?" Lu Zhaoge asked in a low voice as he watched Shangxin leave angrily. "They will definitely agree." Fang Yan smiled and said, "They forced you out of the Longtu Group back then. Now, I will push you into the Longtu. Since there is a word from your father's name in it, we will take it back. Otherwise, won't we be letting down Uncle's efforts? That is your Longtu," Lu Chaoge said stubbornly. Fang Yan shook his head and said, "Let's not dwell on this problem. It is ours." "All right. It is ours," Lu Chaoge smiled and said. Fang Yan took the cup from Lu Chaoge and placed it on the coffee table. He said, "Let's go, I will accompany you for a walk." "Now?" Lu Chaoge looked outside and said, "Jiang Shangxin has gone back. The Jiang family will definitely make their next move. Don't you need to make some preparations?" Fang Yan helped Lu Chaoge up and said, "Nothing is more important than accompanying you for a walk." Lu Chaoge didn't want to tell Fang Yan that she only injured her hand and that she didn't need anyone to help her up. Even the strongest woman would have moments of softness. The sexiest woman would always let men be in a state of softness. It was another autumn, and it was another chilly autumn. The leaves were falling and the branches were desolate. Fang Yan and Lu Chaoge strolled in the backyard, which was covered with fallen leaves, and enjoyed this rare moment of peace and leisure. "Fang Yan, I thought that you wouldn't save me," Lu Chaoge said softly. "I didn't think about it." Fang Yan interrupted Lu Chaoge and said, "I didn't think about what I would gain if you weren't around. I only thought about what I would lose if you weren't around, so everything I do is meaningful." Lu Chaoge sighed softly. It's not easy to have someone who is so compatible and trustworthy in life. "So, I want to live well, and you have to live well too," Fang Yan said with a smile. "You must live well," Lu Chaoge said. "I haven't done what I promised you." Fang Yan sighed and said, "What can I do for you?" Lu Chaoge stopped in her tracks and used her hand that was wrapped in gauze to gently touch Fang Yan's face. She said, "You just have to live well." Crack! The beautiful red porcelain cup was smashed against the wall and smashed into pieces. Hot tea splashed everywhere and stained Shangxin's exposed calf. She frowned in pain. Bam! Li Yun still felt that it wasn't enough to vent her anger. She slammed her palm on the mahogany table and scolded, "Shameless kid, you're too much. Mom, what should we do now? It seems like my dad has really fallen into his hands. He's only using this to negotiate with us. We can negotiate, but we can't give them that much." Fang Yen said that the Jiang family is greedy, but he's even more greedy than us. How can he have such a huge appetite at such a young age? Isn't he afraid that his stomach won't be able to digest it? He really doesn't have any regard for the Jiang family. Recalling Fang Yan's detestable attitude, Jiang Shangxin said coldly, "Fang Yan is adamant that he wants 30%. I think he won't accept any less than that. He also wants us to take responsibility for the kidnapping of Lu Chaoga and Qiang Longtan's disappearance. He's determined not to let Qiang Longtan come back." Li Yun was so angry that she gritted her teeth and said, "Why don't we let Qiang Longtan come back?" Jiang Shangxin's heart trembled slightly, but she pretended not to hear the murderous intent in her mother's words. Indeed, because her father was still alive, and because Jiang Fengxing was the one who came back, the mother and daughter were in a terrible situation. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that they were afraid of hurting the innocent. Ding! While the mother and daughter were hesitating, the visual doorbell in the house rang. Jiang Shangxin walked over to take a look. She turned around and said to her mother with an embarrassed expression, "Jiang Junling is here. Why is he here at this time?" Li Yun was secretly resentful and said, "What else could it be? The Jiang family just doesn't trust us." Jiang Shangxin was extremely sad. This was the sad thing about women. When the news of Fengxing's accident was sent back to the Jiang family, they immediately sent important people over to keep an eye on him. Although they were also members of the Jiang family, the ones who had the final say in the Jiang family were the sons and grandsons of old Master Jiang. Women? In their eyes, they were just tools for bearing children. Jiang Shangxin looked at her mother and asked, "What should we do now?" "We haven't decided yet. We will follow Jiang Junling's decision." Li Yun said quickly, "Open the door." Jiang Shangxin pressed on the doorbell and smiled. "Cousin, why did you come to Huaqing all of a sudden?" Jiang Junling still looked calm and said, "I was busy with some matters a few days ago, so I couldn't make it to Shangxin's wedding in time. I'm busy now, but I have to come over to give my blessings in person." "Thank you, cousin," Jiang Shangxin said with a smile. "I'll pick you up." She pressed the button to end the call and went to welcome Jiang Junling, who had rushed over from Yanjing with her mother Li Yun. There were a few cars parked at the entrance of the villa. Jiang Junling stood in front of the metal gate, and a large number of men in black surrounded him. Jiang Junling was extremely cautious during this trip, and the security was upgraded to the highest level. Chapter 477. Jiang Shangxin ran out to welcome Jiang Junling with a face full of joy. She was a completely different person from when she was in the house and guarded against him. Jiang Shangxin rushed forward and hugged Jiang Junling's arm. She said, "Brother, I called you before the wedding. You said that you couldn't make it because you had something on. You don't know how sad I was when I heard that. Ever since we were young, our relationship has always been the best. How regretful would it be if you didn't attend such a big event like my wedding? Do you know that? I hid in my room and cried for half an hour. Now that you're finally here, I'm so happy." Jiang Shangxin reached out to Jiang Junling and said, "Brother, where's the present? Don't tell me you didn't bring me a present." At this moment, Jiang Shangxin was just a little sister who was acting coquettishly and asking for a present from her brother. Every woman born in a rich and powerful family was born to be an actress. Jiang Junling took out a small box from his pocket and said, "Some time ago, I went to South Africa and had a good talk with the chief of the Wolf Spear tribe. He gave me this gift. I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to you." I'm giving you a happy life. Shang-Xin opened the box and took a look at it. She exclaimed, Red Dragon's Eye? The Red Dragon's Eye was a very rare gemstone. The shape of the gemstone resembled the eyes of the legendary Red Dragon. This kind of gemstone was like a family heirloom, but Jiang Junling casually gave it to his sister as a wedding gift. From this, it could be seen that Jiang Junling treated his sister very well. It was also possible that they viewed it with great importance and were plotting something big. Jiang Junling nodded and said, It's just a stone. Men don't have much interest in this kind of thing. I know you girls like it, so I thought I owed you a wedding gift, so I brought it. I hope you like it. I like it. Of course I like it. Which woman could resist the temptation of a gem? Which woman can resist the red dragon eyes? Isn't a military order too valuable? Li Yun asked worriedly. She heard the subtext in Jiang Junling's words. Men are innately not interested in such things, so what are men innately interested in? Wealthy enough to rival a country? Or was it the power to overturn the world? Li Yun did not treat Jiang Junling as passionately as her daughter, Jiang Shangxin. She was more respectful and fearful of him. This young man's influence in the general family was astonishing, and he was someone who could directly influence the old master's decision. The Jiang family's investment in land in Africa was encouraged by the general's order. He even handed over the business in this area to Jiang Junling. Jiang Junling personally oversaw Africa and became brothers with the impoverished chiefs who were sitting on a treasure mountain. He gave them luxury cars, good wine, and everything they liked. The result of catering to their needs was that they were able to bring back carts after carts of their precious ores. The profits were astonishing. Now that Jiang Junling had used a red dragon's eye, Li Yun was truly worried. Everyone knew that Jiang Junling was a business genius. He never did business that was at a loss. What did he want to take from them this time? Beauty? Li Yun's body was a little restless at the thought of this. However, she was very clear that with Jiang Junling's self-discipline and strictness, he really would not do anything too crazy. Jiang Junling took a look at Li Yun and smiled. Auntie, it's all right. We are all a family. The rest of the people stood guard outside. Jiang Junling followed Li Yun and Jiang Shangxin into the house. Shangxin personally brewed a cup of Mount Junshan silver needles and placed it in front of Jiang Junling. She knew that Jiang Junling liked this tea. Then, she sat beside Jiang Junling, as if she was Jiang Junling's wife and not Jiang Zhuliu's wife. Jiang Junling looked at Li Yun and asked, Auntie, how is the situation? Is there any news from fourth uncle? Li Yun's face was full of worry. She said in her pleasant voice, There is news, but the situation is not optimistic. What happened? Tell me about it. I happen to be in Huaqing, I might be able to help, Jiang Junling said in a low voice. We are all a family, we can't let outsiders bully us. Jiang Fengxing, this bastard, he actually wanted to kidnap Lu Chaoge with Qiang Long Tan. Lu Chaoge was kidnapped and Fang Yan went to your sister's wedding to ask for her. I heard about this. Jiang Junling's eyes turned cold and he said, Fang Yan bullied the Jiang family. He will get his retribution one day. Yes. Who does things like this? Marriage is a big event in a woman's life, and a wedding is the dream that women look forward to the most. In the end, it was ruined by Fang Yan. Because of this, your sister cried for a few days. After the wedding, your fourth uncle and Qiang Long Tan disappeared mysteriously. We couldn't find them no matter how hard we tried. You know your fourth uncle's character. He would more or less discuss it with me when he encountered something, but this time, he didn't discuss it with me. After that, Lu Chaoge came back. Your fourth uncle and Qiang Long Tan didn't appear, so we knew that they might have been controlled by someone. Maybe this is a show put up by Fang Yan? Jiang Junling asked. I thought so too. But now that she is in Fang Yan's hands, what can we do? Aren't we just going to listen to what others say? Fang Yan's conditions must be very hard to accept, right? Brother, how did you know? Jiang Shangxin exclaimed with her eyes wide open. Jiang Junling touched Jiang Shangxin's head and said with a smile, I knew a long time ago that he has good teeth. 30%. Li Yun said. He wants 30% of the Longtu Group's shares. Jiang Junling nodded and said, Indeed, it suits Fang Yan's taste. How are the shares of the Longtu Group being divided now? Li Yun didn't respond to Jiang Shangxin's gaze, she only looked at Jiang Junling sincerely and said with a smile, Zhu Lu is also tactful and is willing to transfer 49% of the shares to the Jiang family. But I thought that since his father is gone and they still have to live in the future, I made the decision to only ask for 30% of the shares. You have a good relationship with Shangxin. Can you speak up for Shangxin on this matter? Jiang Junling agreed with a smile and said, As an elder brother, I will not shirk from this matter. How can an elder brother and younger sister fight over the assets? Since Aunt has already thought of the distribution plan, then let's do it this way. Brother, thank you. Jiang Shangxin thanked him happily. But now, Fang Yan wants 30% of the shares. This huge sum. Are we going to give it to him or not? Jiang Junling didn't answer this question. Instead, he picked up the teacup in front of him and savored the fragrance of the Laojun tea. Jiang Junling didn't speak, so Li Yun and Jiang Shangxin didn't speak either. The house fell into silence. What do you think, Aunt? Jiang Junling looked up at Li Yun and asked. I haven't thought about it yet. I'm anxious. Luckily, the military order came. Li Yun looked at Jiang Shangxin and said with a smile, We will listen to the military order and make the decision. Jiang Junling held the teacup in his hands and muttered for a while, We still have to save them. How could a general abandon his own family? We will be laughed at if word gets out. I understand. Li Yun said. Then I will ask Zhu Lu to take out some shares? I will talk to him. Jiang Junling said. He put down the teacup and said, I will go out for a walk and meet my old friends in Huaqing. Military order, take care of your safety. Li Yun reminded him from behind. Jiang Junling stopped in his tracks and turned to look at Li Yun. He said, Is there any place that the Jiang family can't go? Li Yun smiled and nodded. Of course. However, it's always good to take care of your safety. You are the lifeblood of the Jiang family. Even a scratch on your skin would be an earth-shattering event. Jiang Junling smiled and said, Aunt, you have to take care of your health too. Don't worry, I will definitely bring forth Uncle back. I believe in the military order. Li Yun said gratefully. Jiang Junling got into the car and left. Jiang Shangxin only walked to her mother when the convoy was far away and couldn't be seen. She asked, Mom, can he really bring my father back? Who can guess what he is thinking? Li Yun let out a heavy sigh. When facing the general's order, the other party gave her an immense pressure. She felt that it was hard to breathe. Seeing her mother's greedy breathing, Jiang Shangxin smiled and said, He is getting scarier. In the past, there were still traces of him. Now, I don't know what he is thinking. That Fang Yan is really a weirdo. How could he force someone to such an extent? Let's wait and watch the show. Li Yun said calmly. Didn't he fly to Huaqing at this point in time to regain the face that he lost 3 years ago? Are we really going to let Zhu Lu take out another 30% of the shares? If we give 30% to the Jiang family and another 30% to Fang Yan, how much will we get? Li Yun hugged her daughter's shoulders and said, Things have changed. We will not get involved. As long as you and Jiang Zhulu are still together, what is yours will still be yours in the future. Mom, I know. Jiang Shangxin hugged her mother's arm tightly and said. But how did the Longtu group fall apart? It is really hard to predict who will end up with it in the future. Sai Qiang Longtan has always been smart, but he turned the tables on this matter. If I had known earlier, I would have stopped you from marrying Jiang Zhulu. There were so many twists and turns in this marriage. In the future, Jiang Shangxin hugged her mother's shoulders and said, "Mom, women like us? How can there be happiness?" For some reason, the image of Fang Yen passing lemonade to Lu Chaoga and the two of them snuggling together to watch a matchmaking show suddenly appeared in Jiang Shangxin's mind. "The most romantic thing I can think of is to grow old with you. Has Lu Chaoga found the happiness that she wants?" Jiang Shangxin started to be jealous of Lu Chaoga for no reason. "We are the same woman. What I don't have, why would you have it?" Chapter 478. Longting Tower, Longtu Group Headquarters. Since his father, Qiang Longtan, wasn't around, Jiang Zhulu had been sitting in the CEO's office of Longtu Group for the past few days. Qiang Longtan was the well-deserved leader of Longtu Group. He was also the spiritual idol of nearly 10,000 employees in Longtu Group. Since the establishment of Longtu Group, he had led the employees to create one miracle after another. Qiang Longtan hadn't been to the company for 3 consecutive days, which naturally caused a certain degree of disturbance in the company. In particular, some of the senior managers who had a close relationship with Qiang Longtan kept calling the CEO's office and Jiang Zhulu's phone to ask about Qiang Longtan's whereabouts. Jiang Zhulu couldn't shirk the responsibility, so he had to stand up and take on the heavy responsibility. On the first day of work, he called for a senior meeting to explain to the public that his father wasn't feeling well and needed to rest for a period of time. Only then did the unstable wave of rumors settle down, and all kinds of rumors finally subsided. Jiang Zhulu was very busy. He never thought that being the leader of Longtu Group would have so many things to do. When his father sat in this position, he would leisurely drink tea, read quietly, go to work on time, and accompany his mother for dinner every night. Why did he have so many things to deal with? Why did he have so many decisions to make? Soon, Jiang Zhulu understood the cause of the matter. Even if he and Jiang Longtan were father and son, and he had inherited the foundation that his father had single-handedly built, Jiang Longtan's position was different. However, could he also trust the people that his father trusted? Could he also use the people that his father used? He thought so, but did those people think the same? They didn't dare to make decisions that should have been made by them, so they sent them to Jiang Zhulu to handle. They didn't dare to make decisions that should have been their responsibility, so they sent them to Jiang Zhulu. Everything was done by Jiang Zhulu, and all the decisions were made by Jiang Zhulu. How could he not be tired? Although Jiang Zhulu found the crux of the problem, he still didn't make any changes. He read all the reports that his subordinates sent him. He would give answers to his subordinates' reports. In this matter, they weren't wrong, and neither was Jiang Zhulu. Back then, his father trusted them, so he delegated power to them. Right now, Jiang Zhulu was walking the same path as his father. First, take back the power, then give it back to those who are trusted by him. Don't underestimate this process. It was a simple process that could win over the loyalty of smart people and let them clearly know who was in charge of the Longtu Group. Jiang Zhulu had already made preparations to take over. He knew that his father would never come back. Mr. Jiang Luo Jiebin, the head of Jack's research lab, would like to report to you the research direction of Fire Phoenix's second phase. Mr. Kai Mingliang, the chairman of Longxing Company, has come to visit. He wants to talk to Mr. Jiang about the 3-phase cooperation. Another Mr. Jiang came to visit. He said he's an old friend of yours. Wait. Jiang Zhulu looked up from the pile of reports in front of him and asked the confidential secretary, "What did you just say?" A Mr. Jiang came to visit. He said he's an old friend of yours. The confidential secretary, Jiang Liang, reported again. He was the secretary of the previous boss, Qiang Longtan. He hadn't gained the trust of the person in front of him yet. Therefore, he was still a little nervous when facing him, but he hid it very well. Seeing that Jiang Zhulu was very concerned about this matter, he said, Mr. Jiang is drinking tea in the living room. Jiang Zhulu hurriedly threw the pen in his hand on the table, pushed the chair away, and walked outside. He said, "Take me to him." Jiang Liang didn't ask why. He turned around and led the way. When Jiang Zhulu arrived at the living room, he saw Jiang Junling sitting in the public living room of the CEO's office, drinking tea. There were a few people waiting to see him. They didn't know Jiang Junling's identity and were chatting with each other. No one paid attention to Jiang Junling and treated him as an outsider. Seeing Jiang Zhulu come out, the few people who were waiting quickly stood up to greet him. Jiang Zhulu nodded and smiled at them. He walked straight to Jiang Junling and stood beside him. He said respectfully, "Master, why are you here? If there's anything you need, just let me know. I'm familiar with watching, so it's convenient for me to drive to see you." Jiang Junling put down the teacup in his hand and said with a smile, "If I don't come to see, how would I know how much energy Jiang Zhulu has stored and how much ambition he's suppressing? Not bad. It looks like you're in a good state." Jiang Zhulu was startled inwardly, but he didn't show it on his face. He said with a smile, "I've let Master see a joke. My father isn't feeling well, so I came to help him deal with some side work. The real important matters are still up to my father to decide. Master, do you want to come to my office?" Jiang Junling got up and said, "Then let's go and have a look." Jiang Liang didn't know Jiang Junling's identity, but from Jiang Zhulio's attitude toward him, he could tell that this person had an extraordinary background. Hearing that they were going to the boss's office for a discussion, Jiang Liang quickly led the way and helped open the office door. After waiting for Jiang Junling and Jiang Zhulu to come in, Jiang Liang immediately went inside to make tea. After he quickly finished serving them, he quietly left. Jiang Junling looked at Jiang Zhulu and said, "Zhulio's mental state is very good. This is the quality a man must have to achieve great things." Jiang Zhulu forced a smile and said, "I'm not afraid of Master laughing at me. I can pretend in front of others, but I have to tell the truth in front of Master. I don't have any confidence right now, and I'm still hanging in the balance. My father's life or death is unknown, the company's undercurrents are surging, and it's extremely unstable. Rumors and slanders are bewitching people's hearts. Things keep happening one after another, and I can only force myself to not let this frame fall to the ground with a loud bang. The Jiang family won't fall. There's still Zhulu. Longtu won't fall either. The Jiang family still exists." Jiang Junling softly comforted him. Jiang Zhulu was very excited after hearing Jiang Junling's attitude. The burden on his body was immediately lifted. Although he had put on an act and given away 49% of the shares with a wave of his hand, it was still unknown whether the Jiang family would accept it or not, and whether they would protect the Jiang family after accepting it. Now that an important figure from the Jiang family had stood out and said that the Jiang family and Longtu wouldn't fall, it meant that they had accepted his kindness and kneeled to him. From now on, the Jiang family would be a subsidiary of the Jiang family. Of course, they would be a subsidiary after he and Jiang Shangxin got engaged. However, the Jiang family had a lot of autonomy at that time, and they could bite back at the main family at any time. Now that the Jiang family was in danger, they could only rely on the Jiang family. They would bite whoever the Jiang family wanted them to bite. They were just a family of dogs. "Thank you, Master." Jiang Zhulu stood up and bowed deeply to Jiang Junling. Don't underestimate Jiang Junling's simple words. He had saved the Jiang family and Longtu. Jiang Junling didn't hide it or beat him up. Instead, he gave him such a big gift the moment they met. Whether it was sincere or not, he was sincerely grateful to Jiang Junling and the Jiang family. At this moment, Jiang Zhulu was in a state of isolation and helplessness. Even a little spark could warm his ice-cold chest. Jiang Junling held the teacup and drank his tea. He smiled and said, "We will be family in the future. You don't have to be so polite." Jiang Zhulu returned to his seat and asked Jiang Junling, "Master, why did you come to Huaqing this time?" "To settle things," Jiang Junling said. Bathing in the Huaqing pool during the chilly spring, the hot spring water was smooth and smooth. Under the shade of the maple trees, there was a hot spring that was emitting white mist. The spring water gave off a strong smell of sulfur. It was obvious that it was natural underground spring water. The October maple leaves were as red as fire, and the red leaves that covered the mountains and plains were burning like flames. Layer upon layer, like the waves of a sea of fire, spreading to the surroundings. Pieces of red leaves fell into the pool, becoming decorations for the white medicinal soup. Red and white alternated, forming a beautiful and moving picture scroll. Splash! The young girl in the spring gently shook her arms and the water splashed. The green mountains were full of emotions, but the girl in the pool was even more so. The maple leaves were beautiful. The girl was even more beautiful than all the maple leaves on the mountain combined. The young girl stood up from the pool. The light muslin on her body could hardly conceal her curvaceous figure, causing her perky breasts and flat abdomen to be faintly visible among the green trees and red leaves. It was a great advantage to all the tree gods and grass immortals in this world. A black-clothed woman silently walked over and draped a white cloak over the girl's body. The girl took the towel and wiped the water from her hair. She asked, "What's new now?" Qin Xiaofeng has been buying up film and television stock. Today, he spent 1.3 billion renminbi in one day. However, this method of making quick money through insider information is still a small trick. It can't be relied on, the black-clothed woman replied. Xiaofeng has a good sense of smell. Fighting Star Corporation is about to go public, which will affect the stock market of the entire film and television industry. Wantong Energy's chairman, Mr. Wang Tong, wants to visit you. They still aren't willing to give up the opportunity to represent Chaoyan Energy. Tell Wang Tong to go to Huaqing and talk to Lu Chaoga. Only she has the right to decide. I won't interfere, yes. I'll talk to Chairman Wang, the black-clothed woman replied. Jiang Junling went to Huaqing. Huaqing? The girl stopped drying her hair. After thinking for a bit, she smiled mockingly and said, Fang Yan just went to Huaqing, but he already couldn't wait to chase after him. Just how low does he feel that he's in such a hurry to regain his lost confidence? The black-clothed woman stayed silent. This was something the girl could say, but she couldn't say. The girl continued drying her hair and said, I should also go to Huaqing to take a look. I've been away for 3 years, I really do miss it. Chapter 479. The hardest thing in life is to make a choice, Lan Shangu said with a sigh. Blue Mountain Club. Lan Shangu stood at the entrance of the club with a calm face and a gentle and happy smile on his lip. But inadvertently, a trace of deep worry appeared in his eyes. This made the assistant beside him very puzzled. This young master had single-handedly facilitated the cooperation between the Lan family and Chaoyan Technology. As Chaoyan Technology's Little Flame products sold well all over the country, the Lan family, as one of the 3 major agents, also made a lot of money. He was originally the focus of the Lan family's training. After this successful investment, he could already be confirmed as the next candidate for the Lan family's helm. Shouldn't he be enjoying his carefree time? What else was there that made it so hard for him to let go? Lan Shangu was indeed very worried, and this kind of suffering couldn't be poured out to outsiders. The 2 big brothers, Fang Yan and Jiang Junling, wanted to negotiate, but chose the Blue Mountain Club as the venue. Others didn't know the relationship between the Lan family and the Blue Mountain Club, but it was impossible for Fang Yan and Jiang Junling not to know. Originally, Lan Shangu wanted to pretend that he didn't know about it. If they wanted to negotiate, then let them talk. But now that both sides had greeted him, he couldn't hide anymore. On one side was a famous young master in the capital, one of the most core figures of the Jiang family. Even with the Lan family's current status, there was no way to compete with such a giant. On the other side was a new upstart in the business world. Although he didn't show himself, and even the financial circle didn't know about his existence. However, as one of the most important partners of Chaoyan Technology, how could Lan Shanggu not know about the relationship between Lu Chaoga and Fang Yan? How could he not know about the relationship between Fang Yan and the Qin family's eldest daughter, Qin Etian? How could he not know who the real boss of Chaoyan Technology was? This pretty boy who only knows how to be soft-spoken. A dragon and a tiger, Lan Shanggu couldn't afford to offend either of them, and he didn't want to offend either of them. But, why did you drag a small character like me into the fight between dragons and tigers? If you want to fight, go to Sword Peak. If you want to scold, go to the top of Xixia Mountain to scold. Why did you drag me into this? Did the poor deserve to be bullied by the rich? Poor people also have dignity, okay? His heart was filled with sorrow, but he still had to force a smile. Lan Shanggu felt that he was a prostitute in a nightclub who drank with the customers with her bare chest and thighs. While she was cursing Fang Yan and Jiang Junling for being unkind, a luxury car stopped in front of the clubhouse. Lan Shanggu quickly walked down the stairs and opened the door for him. He smiled and said, "Long time no see, young Master Jiang. You haven't been to Flower City for a few years, right?" Jiang Junling shook hands with Lan Shanggu and said with a smile, "I don't dare to come here often. By saying that, young master, you are criticizing our Flower City for not doing a good job in receiving guests. This time, we will learn our lesson and treat you well. We will let you have a new understanding of our Flower City." Lan Shanggu purposely changed the topic and said with a smile, "How could such a small trick escape Jiang Junling's eyes?" He held Lan Wudu's hand and smilingly said, "Wudu, you and I are now estranged. In the past, when we were in Beijing, we would still go out to drink and chat when we had nothing to do. Now that we've met, you're starting to set an official standard?" Lan Shanggu's expression changed as he smiled and said, "Young master, if you have time, I can send you an invitation right now. How about we two brothers have a good drink and chat today? I've already rejected everyone else's appointments. Whoever dares to compete with me, I'll dare to fight with them." Jiang Junling laughed and said, "That's right. You've always made me feel regretful in my heart. We used to be good friends, how could we lose you all of a sudden? It's good now. I like your boldness that you're not afraid of anything." The two of them entered the clubhouse's top-notch Lanshan private room. Other than an old man in sunglasses who followed them in, the others automatically left. Lan Shanggu's assistant helped arrange it. A beautiful girl in palace attire performed a tea ceremony on the spot. A cup of fragrant, colorful tea was served to the guests before the beautiful girl in palace attire bowed and left. Lan Shanggu made an inviting gesture and smilingly said, "I know that young master likes to drink Laojun tea. When I go back, I've asked for all the treasures of our old man. Young master, have a taste." Jiang Junling picked up the teacup and took a sip. He smiled and said, "This year's new tea was picked before the first rain before the Qingming festival. Only the tender tea core was taken, and the virgin leaves were washed and dried. Then, it was hand stir-fried. The leaves, heat control, and stir-frying techniques are all top-notch. Together, it's a peerless product. When I'm free, I'll visit the old man and ask him for a cup of good tea to drink. Then the old man will be so happy that he'll have to show off his tea skills in front of you." Lan Shanggu smiled in response, but he was secretly vigilant. Jiang Junling wanted to visit the Lan family's old man. He wouldn't believe that he didn't have any other intentions. However, the Lan family now had Chaoyan Technology as their cash cow. It wouldn't be easy for them to make the Lan family change their ways, right? Jiang Junling held the teacup and looked at Lan Shanggu thoughtfully. He said, "I came 20 minutes earlier than the agreed time because I wanted to have a good talk with you. It's hard for everyone to meet each other now. It's even harder to sit down and have a good talk. Lan Shanggu knew that he couldn't avoid it anymore. He looked at Jiang Junling and said seriously, "Young master, what do you want to say? I'm listening." "You can't just listen with your ears. You have to talk with your mouth. Think carefully with your heart and brain. Valley, I know that you're working very well with Chaoyan now. As the saying goes, blocking someone's path to wealth is like killing their parent. I definitely won't do this kind of thing. What I want to talk to you about is that our Jiang family is preparing to invest a huge amount of money and resources into Longtu. We want to make Longtu's territory bigger and stronger, and become a world-class energy company. Are you interested in joining in?" Lan Shanggu fell into a short silence. It wasn't a blatant attempt to rope him in. Instead, it was a more brilliant way to divide him. Jiang Junling knew that it was impossible to completely separate the Lan family from the alliance of interests that Lu Chaoga had helped Fang Yen to create. This was because there were huge benefits involved. Their future development was limitless. Even the Jiang family was very tempted by this. However, if he was allowed to earn benefits from this alliance of interests, and if another huge benefit was placed in front of him, what choice would the Lan family make? Jiang Junling's thoughts were very simple. He couldn't rope the Lan family in for his own use. He also didn't want the Lan family to be used by Fang Yen. This way, Jiang Zhulu wouldn't have to make enemies in Huaqing. Longtu Group's situation would also be much more relaxed. Li Yun reminded Jiang Junling to be careful in Huaqing. This was because they knew very well that the current Huaqing was no longer the Huaqing of the past. If Fang Yen was willing, he could do many things that would harm Jiang Junling's actions. It was precisely because he understood this that Jiang Junling was so angry at Li Yun's reminder. Sometimes the truth really hurt one's pride. Faced with the bait that Jiang Junling threw out, Lan Shanggu was indeed a little hesitant. Although they were now the agent of Chaoyan technology, would they still be in the future? If they no longer had any value, would they be kicked away by Chao Yen and Fang Yen? If they invested in Longtu Group, they would become an important partner of Longtu Group. Everyone would share the glory and disgrace and work together. Who dared to say that Longtu didn't have any chance? Moreover, even if Chao Yen became the world's #1, so what? Who could say that the world's #2 company didn't make money? After Jiang Junling threw out this bait, he didn't say anything else and waited patiently for Lan Shanggu's answer. Lan Shanggu's mind spun like lightning, constantly considering the pros and cons of various options. After a long time, Lan Shanggu finally made up his mind and said, "Young master, this matter is too important. I have to discuss it with my family. I think they are more mature than me, and their foresight is also more far-sighted. They will give a more accurate judgment." Jiang Junling's eyes trembled slightly, then returned to normal in an instant. Although Lan Shanggu didn't say anything definite, he had already rejected Jiang Junling's suggestion in person. In other words, between him and Fang Yen, he chose Fang Yen. Moreover, he followed Fang Yen with a resolute and decisive attitude. This kind of person, if you can't be a friend, then you can only be an opponent. I understand. Jiang Junling nodded and said. Then, he held his teacup and drank his tea, no longer saying anything. Jiang Junling didn't say anything, and Lan Shanggu didn't say anything either. The sound of chattering and the fragrance of tea was quiet. But the air in the room was about to freeze. Time flew, and when it was almost time to meet, Lan Shanggu stood up and said, "Young master, please wait a moment. Young Master Fang is here, I'll go welcome him." Jiang Junling didn't reply. Since Lan Shanggu had already made his choice, it was reasonable for him to give Fang Yen enough respect at this time. Lan Shanggu didn't wait for Jiang Junling's response, and pushed the door open and walked out of the room. When he stood at the entrance of the club again, his mood was a lot better for no reason. Lan Shanggu felt his heart calm down. The most difficult thing in life was to make a choice. When you make a choice, many things will suddenly become clear. A GMC limousine stopped at the entrance of the club, and Lan Shanggu quickly walked down the step. After opening the door for him, he smiled and said, "Young master, Jiang Junling has been waiting for you for a long time. I thought you stood him up and wouldn't come today." Fang Yen jumped out of the car first, then turned around to help Lu Chaoga get out. Only then did he greet Lan Shanggu and said with a smile, "I'm a little late. Chaoga has a bad hand, so I've been doing the grocery shopping and cooking these days. How was the braised ribbonfish today?" "It was a little salty," Lu Chaoga said. She was wearing a silver suit and a sky-blue silk scarf around her neck, and the beautiful bow just happened to cover the wound on her neck. Her fluffy hair was combed into a phoenix tail. The phoenix tail was slightly curled, making her neck look slender and delicate. Her snow-white chest made people gulp involuntarily. That heart-shaped water-drop pendant was the happiest jewelry in the world. "I don't want to use too much salt to cover up the fishy smell," Fang Yen explained seriously. "What do you want to eat tonight? I'll make you a ribbonfish soup. It'll be a little lighter, but I want the freshness of the fish." "Okay," Lu Chaoga said. "And the mapo tofu we had this afternoon." "No problem." Fang Yen held Lu Chaoga's arm and said, "The prices have gone up again. Let's go in and ask for some money to buy groceries." One side was trying to bribe people, while the other was talking with his girlfriend about how to cook and buy groceries. Who was the real winner? The answer was obvious. Lan Shanggu laughed and said, "We'll have to ask for some money. We can't afford to ask for less." But he was thinking that a pretty boy like Fang Yen was already a winner in life. Chapter 480. Under Lan Shanggu's lead, Fang Yen supported Lu Chaoga into Lan Shan's private room. When the old man in sunglasses saw Fang Yen, he raised his eyebrows slightly and his expression tightened. Jiang Junling sensed the strange expression of the old man beside him and glanced at him, then turned his gaze to Fang Yen. Fang Yen supported Lu Chaoga to sit down and greeted the old man in sunglasses sitting opposite him, saying, "I haven't seen you for 3 years. Are you still in good health?" "Very good," the fisherman said. He looked at Fang Yen and said in a sincere and caring voice, "Is your grandfather well?" Fang Yen smiled and said, "If you want to know whether he's well or not, why don't you go to Swallow Dock and have a drink with him?" "I don't dare to go." The fisherman sighed softly. "You know your grandfather's temper. If I go, he'll definitely scold me badly. I've lived for so many years, and this is the only face I can use to fool people. If it falls on the ground, how can I pick it up? Also, your grandfather doesn't want to see me right now. Old Fang has always been strong and likes to compare himself to others. He's in his twilight years, but he has to send off a black-haired person. He doesn't feel good about it. Why should I go and stab him?" Fang Yan's expression was solemn, and he showed unprecedented respect to the fisherman. He said, "You are my grandfather's old friend of many years. The people who understand him the most are you old friends. My suggestion was too frivolous. Please don't blame me, old man." The fisherman waved his hand and said, "I don't blame you. If I wanted to, I would have done it long ago. We each have our own standpoints, and we each serve our own masters, so we won't quarrel when we meet. When I feel like I'm about to leave, I'll go see old Fang and have a good drink with him. I'll listen to him scold me to his heart's content. That's the real joy then." "I hope that day will come later," Fang Yen said with a serious expression. Jiang Junling didn't feel jealous at all when his subordinates were fighting with the enemy. He listened to their conversation with great interest, as if he were one of them. Lan Shanggu also felt that the atmosphere was really strange, but he tried his best to keep a low profile and reduce his presence. After summoning the beauty in the palace dress to brew a pot of Longjing tea, she said to Fang Yen, "Young master, I'll go out to entertain them. Shall we have dinner here tonight?" No need, Fang Yen refused. If I eat here, you'll have to sit with me. If I busied myself with eating, I felt disrespectful to you, the host. If I keep thinking about what to say to you, I won't be able to eat smoothly. There's still leftovers at home. I'll go back and cook a few dishes. He wouldn't eat out. You don't have to leave, just be a witness. Lan Shanggu nodded and said, Young master cooking personally, it's very romantic. Fang Yen wouldn't let him leave, so he could only find a corner to sit. Jiang Junling looked at Fang Yen and said with concern, Just now, the fisherman said something. The white-haired person sending off the black-haired person, this is the greatest tragedy in life. The dead are gone, and the living are like this. Nothing is more sad than to ruin one's life. Fang Yan's eyes trembled slightly as he looked at Jiang Junling and said, This is indeed a sad and despairing matter. You clearly feel that you can control everything, but you can only watch as your loved ones die in front of you. If it's possible, I hope that this will only happen once in my life. What I've experienced has been experienced by others before, and in the future, there will be people who will experience it. If it's not someone else, it will be you. Fate is really a mysterious thing. Once the sickle in the hand of the Grim Reaper points at you, you can't run or hide. So, living like this is only one aspect. The key is to be strong, to accumulate virtue and do more good while you're alive. If you do too many bad things, the Grim Reaper's sickle will naturally hook onto your neck. Fang Yen used his own experience to point the spearhead at Jiang Junling. Those who do too much evil will bring about their own destruction. What happened to me will also happen to others. This kind of tragedy will never be the last time it happens. If the Jiang family still doesn't know how to stop and keep doing such immoral things, the Grim Reaper's sickle will definitely stretch onto their necks. At that time, even if you regret it, it will be too late. Jiang Junling nodded in agreement and said, That makes sense. Filial piety, loyalty, trust, propriety, justice, integrity, and shame, if any of them are missing, it will be difficult to support a person. Accumulate virtue, do more good, and do less bad things, then there will be peace at home and abroad. Jiang Junling retorted bluntly. The hidden meaning in his words was that if Fang Yen hadn't done too many bad things, no one in his family would have died tragically. If he still acted willfully and recklessly this time, then there would be no peace at home and abroad. Fang Yen was threatening Jiang Junling, and Jiang Junling was also threatening Fang Yen. As soon as they came into contact, swords were drawn. Lan Shanggu wished he could stick his head into his pants. Once again, he regretted sitting here. Why didn't he pretend to be dead and go to the hospital? Why didn't he say that he needed to change sanitary pads when he was on his period? Even if he was beaten twice on the head, it would still be much more relaxing and enjoyable than sitting here and watching Fang Yen and Jiang Junling stab each other. Lan Shanggu felt that he was really too pitiful. Fang Yen held a cup of Longjing tea in his hand, looked at Jiang Junling and said, If I were you, I would definitely not be stupid enough to provoke a powerful opponent at this time. Jiang Junling calmly looked at Fang Yen and said, When friends come, there is good wine, when enemies come, there is a hammer. Friend or enemy, I know very well. But Fang Yen raised his hand and splashed the cup of Longjing tea at Jiang Junling, who was sitting opposite him. Whoosh, the tea was like an arrow, piercing toward Jiang Junling's face. The old man in shades moved like a goshawk. With a wave of his wide sleeves, the cup of Longjing tea was taken away without a drop of rain. From beginning to end, the General Ling sat steadily in his original position, not showing any signs of panic or anger. He was like an emotionless stone Buddha. The old man in shades was on guard, but Fang Yen didn't make any further moves. Jiang Junling looked at Fang Yen and said, This kind of insult has no meaning. If even you say it's an insult, then it means that this kind of behavior will make you unhappy. I'm not a very promising person, but if I can make someone I don't like a little unhappy, I'll be very happy, Fang Yen said with a smile. Tell me honestly, do you feel a little unhappy in your heart? Jiang Junling nodded honestly and said, It's not just a little unhappy, it's very unhappy. No one has ever dared to pour tea on the face of a member of the general's family. In the eyes of the elderly, this kind of insult is very serious, and it must be paid with blood. In other words, I'll have to be more careful when I go out in the future? Just take it as a friendly reminder. Jiang Junling looked at Fang Yan and said, I sincerely wish for your family to be safe. Hearing Jiang Junling's threat again, Fang Yan couldn't help but laugh and said, You must have heard of this saying, the barefooted are not afraid of those who wear shoes. We've experienced it before, so we know how painful it is to lose a loved one. After knowing it, we hope that this feeling won't befall us again, but befall others. For example, those people who want to kill us. Jiang Junling, do you believe it? I'm really not afraid of tearing your neck off. When Fang Yan said this last sentence, the smile on his face had disappeared, and his voice was devoid of any emotion. His clear eyes became deep, and a frightening scarlet red appeared in his pupils. At this moment, Fang Yan was filled with killing intent, and he was as violent as a general who had just slaughtered thousands of enemy soldiers on the battlefield. Even the heart of Grand Mystery couldn't suppress such killing intent. Even Laozi's mind-clearing incantation couldn't get rid of such killing intent. The expression of the old man in sunglasses changed again, and he couldn't help but sit up, moving sideways toward Jiang Junling. This was to prevent Fang Yan's sudden attack from catching him off guard. The old man in sunglasses looked at Fang Yan and said angrily, How did you get the smell of blood from practicing the Fang Tai Chi? In the past, your grandfather wrote to me, praising you as a rare martial arts prodigy. You've indeed lived up to expectations, comprehending the heart of Tai Chi at such a young age. Not only the Fang family, but also the famous Tai Chi clans all agree that you're the master of Tai Chi's resurgence. But look at what you're doing now. What are you practicing? You're going to lead Tai Chi down the wrong path. Fang Yan knew that the old man in sunglasses was really doing this for his own good. Old people at their age still had a strong sense of greatness, such as the resurgence of their country and culture. Fang Yan had grown up in such a family, so he had subtly inherited such emotional cognition. The red in Fang Yan's eyes slowly disappeared, and the hostility in his heart dissipated. Only then was he able to speak to the old man in sunglasses in a normal tone. He said, I know that the way I practice is wrong, and I also know that I'm going down the wrong path. But I really have no other choice. My heart is full of hatred, and I'm full of killing intent. If I don't vent these feelings, I think I'll never be able to return to the right path. In 3 years, I haven't made any progress in my martial arts, and I haven't mastered my Qi. Grandfather is also very worried for me, and he has asked me countless times to let go of the knot in my heart and let go of the hatred. But how can I let go? How can I let go? The knot in my heart isn't to let go, but to untie it. The hatred isn't to let go, but to have an eye for an eye. Fang Yan opened his mouth and smiled at Jiang Junling, saying, That's why I came out. I used my own method to untie the knot in my heart and let go of the hatred. Jiang Junling, in the future, when I'm good at martial arts, you'll definitely be my greatest benefactor. I can't bear it, Jiang Junling said with a serious expression. At this moment, in his heart, Fang Yan was like a rabid dog that could pounce and bite someone at any time. He somewhat regretted coming to Huaqing at this time. Chapter 481. If he won, it would be natural, but if he lost, he would lose face. This was Jiang Junling's current situation, just like last time. He had already thought of this question. Why did he still come to Flower City? Because he thought that he would definitely win this time. There was no possibility of losing at all. Why are you regretting it now? Jiang Junling suddenly thought of this question. With his intelligence, he quickly came up with an answer that was 99% true. Because he was afraid. He was afraid that he wouldn't win, afraid that he would lose again. Facing Fang Yen, who was currently like a mad dog, Jiang Junling's strong heart loosened a little. Thinking that he was actually afraid, Jiang Junling became truly angry. This anger had nothing to do with others, but his disappointment in himself. He was growing, and so was Fang Yen. This was something he had already guessed long ago. He was no longer the normal Fang Yen, but so what? The big picture is in the hands of the heavens, and I am the one who succeeds. Compared to himself, how many trump cards does he have? This kind of negative emotion only lasted for a fleeting moment before it once again turned into a modest, proud, confident, and powerful General Ling. Jiang Junling looked at Fang Yen and said, "Since we've known each other for a long time, I wish you success in martial arts. However, I think we've both overlooked the real purpose of this meeting. We're here to trade, aren't we?" "Can't be overlooked," Fang Yen smiled and said. He held Lu Chaoga's hand and said, "I brought the victim to the negotiation site to let you all feel the brutality and viciousness of those bandits. Look, how could they be so heartless as to lay their hands on such a beautiful and charming little woman?" Everyone present was speechless. Who the hell would look at whether the hostage was a beautiful woman before kidnapping? The main thing was to see how much profit they could get from the hostage, alright? Fang Yen looked at Lan Shanggu and said, "Lan Shanggu, if it were you, would you kidnap such a beautiful woman and cut off her hair to paint with her scalp?" Lan Shanggu was shocked and said, "Young master, don't joke with me like this. I am timid. I am a legitimate businessman in Lauren Valley. I don't do anything illegal. That wouldn't last long, and it would be easy for him to fall into the ditch. Your whole body stinks. I'm afraid you've lost your life." Only now did Jiang Junling, Lan Shanggu, and the others learn about the details of the kidnapping. He thought to himself that Feng Xing and Qiang Longtan, these two old freaks, were really capable of doing anything. They had also done the extremely cruel thing of painting on their scalp. No wonder Fang Yen had something on them that could be used to make them beg for death. Since Fang Yen hated Feng Xing and Qiang Longtan so much, today's negotiation was naturally to cut off a piece of flesh from Jiang Junling. However, he didn't know if Jiang Junling would give in or not. If Jiang Junling wasn't willing to pay up, the fight between the two would become heated and protracted. Thinking of his position between the two, Lan Shanggu wanted to cry but had no tears. Who did he offend? Jiang Junling's eyes turned cold and said, "Don't use groundless things to confuse people. People will laugh at you if this gets out." Jiang Junling's eyes moved to Lu Chaoga's face and praised, "Miss Lu's hairstyle is very beautiful today. It complements your temperament, simple and elegant." Jiang Junling countered Fang Yan's words with the truth. "Didn't you say that they cut off Lu Chaoga's hair to paint on her scalp?" Lu Chaoga's hair was still there, which proved that every attack on their character was a lie. Fang Yan surely understood the meaning of Jiang Junling's words. He said, "Groundless things? If I was a little bit later, you wouldn't have the chance to praise Miss Lu's hairstyle and temperament today." Fang Yan raised Lu Chaoga's injured hand and said, "This dagger pierced through her palm. Even if it healed, an ugly scar would still be left on the back of her hand." Fang Yan then untied the silk scarf that was tied around Lu Chaoga's neck to cover those scars, looked at Jiang Junling and said, "If I hadn't grabbed that dagger in time, Feng Xing's throat would have already been cut." The look in Lan Shanggu's eyes turned complicated. He finally understood the reason why Fang Yan asked him to stay. At the beginning, he thought that Fang Yan asked him to stay on the scene to be a buffer, in case he and Jiang Junling started a fight without saying a word. If that happened, the negotiation wouldn't go on. When he saw Fang Yan pick up the teacup in front of him and pour it towards Jiang Junling's face, he knew that he was wrong. Fang Yan didn't mean to negotiate with Jiang Junling at all. He was a madman who wouldn't even care about poking a hole in the sky. He didn't care about the power of the Jiang clan at all. Now he understood that Fang Yan asked him to be a witness. to witness the scars on Lu Chaoga's body, and also to prove that Qiang Longtan and Jiang Fengxing were the murderers behind the kidnapping of Lu Chaoga. Before, when Fang Yan said this, some people didn't believe him. Some people even thought that this was a drama directed and acted by Fang Yan himself. He was vicious and merciless, and even the people closest to him were his pawns. Now that Fang Yan showed up with Lu Chaoga, the meaning of his words was clear. These people were the ones who kidnapped Jiang Fengxing and Qiang Longtan. Every word he said was true. Otherwise, would Fang Yan really cut Lu Chaoga's neck a few times? Or would he stab the back of Lu Chaoga's hand with a knife? Fang Yan wanted to borrow his eyes and mouth. He wanted to spread what he saw with his own eyes, to let the people of Huaqing know that Fang Yan wasn't as evil and treacherous as they thought. Most importantly, Fang Yan wanted those who followed him or had the intention to follow him to know that his character was not as bad as they thought or what the rumors said. Every word and action of this guy had a hidden meaning. He really couldn't be underestimated. As expected, if Lan Shanggu could think of it, Jiang Junling could think of it in advance. Jiang Junling glanced at Lan Shanggu thoughtfully and said, "One side of the story, you can't take it seriously. If you really want to get justice for Miss Lu, why don't you send my fourth uncle and Uncle Jiang here, and let the three parties confront each other face to face? What's wrong is wrong, and what's right is right after all. No matter how good their acting skills are, how can they hide from the eyes of everyone here? In this way, even if they spread the word to the outside, they would have a more straightforward and clear understanding. Gu, don't you think so?" Lan Shanggu laughed and said, "What's right is right after all, and what's wrong is wrong after all. I believe the truth will come to light one day. As long as people are still alive, the truth will never disappear." Jiang Junling smiled faintly. He knew that Lan Shanggu would give an answer that was biased towards Fang Yan's side. But whether or not to say it was very important. When Lan Shanggu spread the word, he still had to consider the attitude of the Jiang family on this matter. "I think so too," Fang Yan said. "A country has its laws, and a family has its rules. If they break the law, they will naturally be handed over to the authorities to deal with. Oh right, when I came, I already sent those bandits to the police station. They are probably being interrogated now, right?" Jiang Junling smiled without saying anything. He said, "Fang Yan, why can't we just get to the point? Why waste your time and mine like this? You don't trust me to send them to the police station?" "Of course," Jiang Junling said. "If you did, I would admire your selflessness." Fang Yan smiled shyly and said, "You guessed it right. I really can't bear to send them to the police station. Jiang Fengxing is a big shot in the Jiang family. If he was sent to the police station as a kidnapper, the Jiang family's reputation would probably fall to the ground and be covered in dust, right? You won't get any compensation either. Between the two of us, who will suffer a greater loss? So, when Jiang Shangxin came to my house to ask for my help, I agreed to give you a chance. I have already stated the conditions. You can only do two things. Accept it or you have no choice but to accept it." "I want to confirm a few things," Jiang Junling said. "First, are they still alive?" "Them? Which one?" "My fourth uncle, Jiang Fengxing, and Jiang Zhulio's father, Qiang Longtan. Are they still alive?" "Oh, they tied him up and threw him into the vast ocean. When I tried my best to find him, I only saw Jiang Fengxing and a few of his helpers. After a fierce fight, I finally subdued them. I've never seen the dragon pool before, but I've never seen it before. I don't know if they were thrown into the deep sea by your fourth uncle because they couldn't split the loot evenly. I don't know how to swim. Even if I could, I wouldn't jump into the sea to look for them. What does his life have to do with me, right?" Lan Shanggu's hand trembled slightly as he held the teacup in his hand. Qiang Longtan was already dead? After Jiang Zhulio's wedding, the Jiang family's reputation had been trampled into the abyss by Fang Yen. However, no one dared to underestimate the Jiang family. Because the Jiang family had Qiang Longtan, and because the Jiang family had the backing of the Jiang family. Who could guarantee that the Jiang family wouldn't be able to rise again? If Qiang Longtan was also dead, with just Jiang Zhulu, would he be able to carry the Jiang family's banner? Jiang Junling nodded and said, "In other words, Qiang Longtan is dead?" I said I don't know. The Jiang family still has to bear the crime of killing Qiang Longtan. You don't have to bear it, Fang Yen said confidently. If you don't want to bear it, then let someone else bear it. I don't like to force people. If that's the case, Jiang Junling looked at Fang Yen and said, I think your price is too high. We can only give you 10% of Longtu Group's shares at most. This is the highest price we can offer after discussing with Jiang Zhulu. Fang Yen helped Lu Chaoga up and said, As the victim's family, we refuse to accept such a humiliating price. Negotiation ends here. Before he finished, he was already holding Lu Chaoga's hand and walking towards the door of the private room. Chapter 482. Negotiations, of course, should be negotiated first. They haven't even had a proper negotiation, and they've already been sentenced to death. Who would want to do business with such a person? Do they have any morals? Do they have any professionalism? Do they have any negotiating spirit? Jiang Junling knew that Fang Yen was difficult to deal with, but he really didn't expect him to get up and leave as soon as he stated his conditions. What kind of insulting price was that? Who the hell was insulting who? Why do I feel like I'm being insulted too? Is he really not afraid that this negotiation will collapse? Or does he think that he has nothing to fear just because he has a hostage in his hand, and that he will definitely win this war? Seeing Fang Yen being so unscrupulous and not giving him any face, Jiang Junling's expression couldn't help but become even more hostile. He always thought that his cultivation was profound and his endurance was better than others. But every time he met Fang Yen, he would break through, and he really wanted to roll up his sleeves and fight 300 rounds with him regardless of his identity and image. He looked at Fang Yan's back and said aloud, I think you may not understand some things. Do you know how much 10% of Longtu Group's shares are worth? With the good performance of the energy stocks in the market, its total market value will not be much lower than the current Chaoyan technology. How much can you get in Chaoyan? It can't be more than 10%, right? Fang Yen suddenly turned around and stared at Jiang Junling. In your heart, you think that 10% of Longtu Group's shares is already a lot, an astronomical number, enough to compensate for all our losses. But you definitely don't know what Lu Chaoga means to me. Fang Yen held Lu Chaoga's hand and said in a deep voice, She is my friend, my family, Chaoyan's soul and everything. Without her, Chaoyan technology would not exist at all. I don't even have the chance to sit here and talk to you as equals. Such an important person was kidnapped by the Jiang family. Jiang Junling frowned and said, She was not kidnapped by the Jiang family, please watch your words. Is Jiang Fengxing not a member of the Jiang family? Didn't you just call him fourth uncle? Jiang Fengxing is a member of the Jiang family, and he is indeed my fourth uncle. However, the Jiang family belongs to all members of the Jiang family, not just one person. Other than two people, no one else can stand out and say that they represent the Jiang family. Besides, the truth is still unclear. Before I see fourth uncle, I don't believe that the Jiang family kidnapped Miss Lu Chaoga. If that's the case, Fang Yen sneered. Why are you negotiating with me? I'll hand them over directly to the police station. You can bring your family to the police station to visit them and understand what happened. Isn't that easy for you? Why did you come to my house and beg me to negotiate? If you don't do anything against your conscience, you won't be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door. But if you've done too many things against your conscience, even the slightest movement outside will make you paranoid and restless? Fang Yen, you are testing my patience. Jiang Junling, don't put on a high and mighty face in front of me. If I cared about your identity, I wouldn't have beaten you black and blue 3 years ago. What's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong. You've done wrong, so you have to receive the punishment you deserve. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have a special identity. You can do it with others but not with me. As the victim's family, we have the final say on whether we are satisfied with the compensation, not you, the perpetrator, decide. Now I can tell you very clearly that I am very dissatisfied with this result. General Ling took a sip of tea from his teacup and said, 20%. 30%, Fang Yen said. I've already stated the conditions. Only by reaching this condition will we feel a little more balanced. Although I think it still can't compare to the losses we've suffered. Long2 Group's future valuation is far from Chaoyan technology. Can 30% of Long2 Group's shares be compared to all of Chaoyan technology shares? Everyone knows that if something happens to Lu Chaoga in this kidnapping incident, Chaoyan technology will suffer a fatal blow. Don't you feel that you've taken advantage of me by stating such a merciful condition? Jiang Junling pondered for a moment and said, Fine. 30%. I promise you. But the condition is that you let her go first. Only after you let her go, will I ask someone to transfer the shares of Long2 Group to you. Fang Yen took Lu Chaoga's hand and sat back down. He said, That's not a problem. Jiang Junling looked at Fang Yen and asked, Where do we pick her up? South Sea, Fang Yen said. Rumble. The off-road vehicle's engine roared, and the vehicle bounced up and down, continuously conquering one protrusion or pit after another. This was an undeveloped road that extended infinitely along the coastline of Huaqing. It was sparsely populated, and it was not conducive to driving. Jiang Zhulu was used to sitting in luxury cars with excellent shock absorption. His body was bounced up and down again, repeating this process over and over again. It made him feel as if his internal organs were being moved. He resisted the nausea and the urge to lie by the window and vomit to his heart's content. He tried his best to look calm and composed, as if nothing had happened. At this time, Jiang Zhulio's heart was especially sensitive, and he needed other people's respect and approval even more. The driver was an experienced driver. His movements were skilled and agile. Even on such a difficult road, he could still drive the car at high speed, which was enough to show his superb skills. Sitting in the front passenger seat was a middle-aged man in a black suit. When they first met, he introduced himself as Eagle King and was the main person in charge of searching for the target in the team. Sitting side by side with Jiang Zhulu were two big shots of the martial arts world. One was the Tai Saber god Li Wanfu. It was said that his Tai Saber was superb, and he could use 13 sabers at most. As the leader of the Lovers' School, he had a great reputation. The other big shot was the Dragon Master, Bao Shi'er, who had fought with Fang Yen in the 10-feet abyss and was beaten into a coma by Fang Yen. In the past, Jiang Zhulu did not have much of a good impression and understanding of these martial arts figures. Now that it was a society governed by law, no matter how good their martial arts were, would they come and beat him up for no reason? Only now did Jiang Zhulu gradually realize the importance of these people. For example, he was here to pick up Jiang Fengxing and his father. If it were not for these powerful people accompanying him, he would not have the courage to come to such a place to pick them up alone. Li Wanfu and Bao Shi'er were sitting in the car with their eyes closed, as if they had fallen asleep. Their bodies were moving up and down with the bumps of the car, but there was nothing strange on their faces. Their bodies were integrated with the car, going up and down at the same time with ease. Screech! The car suddenly braked and stopped at the edge of a high cliff. Eagle King was the first to get out of the car. He glanced at the satellite positioning system on his wrist and said, "The agreed place for the transaction is here." Jiang Zhulu opened the car door and got out. He really could not stand the stuffy air in the car. He took in big mouthfuls of the salty and humid sea air, which made his body feel slightly better. The feeling of vomiting that was about to gush up to the corner of his mouth disappeared, allowing him to save some face. Jiang Zhulu walked to Eagle King's side and looked at the vast deep blue sea. He said, "Where are they? Why don't I see anything?" "There are still 5 minutes left," Eagle King said. "We arrived 5 minutes earlier than the agreed time." Jiang Zhulio's phone rang in his pocket. He glanced at the caller ID and saw that it was Jiang Junling. He answered the phone and said, "Young master, we have arrived at the destination, but we haven't seen fourth uncle and the others yet." "Be careful," Jiang Junling said and hung up the phone. As soon as the call ended, a cruise ship sailed over the sea. Everyone was shocked. The people they had been waiting for had finally arrived. Eagle King took the lead and walked toward the coastline under the cliff, and Jiang Zhulu followed closely behind. Li Wanfu and Bao Shi also got off the ship and followed behind Jiang Zhulu, one in front and one on the right. The purpose of their trip was to ensure Jiang Zhulio's personal safety. The cruise ship arrived in the blink of an eye and anchored at the edge of the stone bridge, which seemed to have been in disrepair and had been corroded beyond recognition by the seawater. A thin man jumped off the ship and tied the rope in his hand to the pillar of the stone bridge. Then, he stood at the bridgehead and coldly waited for Jiang Zhulu and the others to arrive. Jiang Zhulu rushed to the front and asked the thin man, "Where are they?" "On the ship," Snake Lord said. "I want to go up and take a look," Jiang Zhulu said. "Make the deal first." Snake Lord stood in the middle of the stone bridge, not letting them go over. "I don't see them. How can I make the deal?" Jiang Zhulu said unwillingly. The Serpent King whistled, following which, a man in black clothes dragged Feng Xing onto the deck. The man in black took off the blindfold from Feng Xing's head and pulled out the black cloth from his mouth. After that, Feng Xing immediately started yelling out, "Zhulu, help me! Zhulu, help me!" "Where are the others?" Jiang Zhulu asked. "No one else," Snake Lord said with a smile. "Don't go too far. You took my father away as well." "We don't see your father," Snake Lord said. "Maybe he was thrown into the sea to feed the sharks?" He felt that these rich people were very strange. On the surface they seemed to be loyal and affectionate, but secretly they were thieves and prostitutes. What couldn't they do? "I'll kill you." Jiang Zhulio's eyes were blood-red, and he looked like he wanted to kill Snake Lord. Eagle Eye rushed in front of Jiang Zhulu and said, "Let's make the deal first." Eagle Eye looked at Snake Lord and said, "Give him to me. The boss will sign the transfer of shares." Snake Lord smiled and shook his head. "The more I meet people, the more I feel that they are not as loyal and reliable as my little snake. What if you don't sign after I give him to you? Let your boss sign first, then this ship and the people on it are all yours." Chapter 483. Eagle King sneered, his eyes as sharp as a vulture's. "You have your considerations, we also have our concerns. What if we sign it, but you don't give it to us?" "That is indeed a problem." Snake Lord thought about it seriously. "This problem is too profound, my IQ is low, I really can't think of a good solution. How about we cancel today's deal?" After saying that, Snake Lord jumped towards the cruise ship behind him. Eagle King's body trembled in anger. "What kind of attitude is this bastard? Do we need to beg you to make a deal? Want to leave?" Li Wanfu shouted, his body like a rock spreading its wings, leaping into the air. His hands turned into eagle claws, swiftly grabbing towards Snake Lord's nape. Vajra subduing Dragon Claw. This was an inner sect technique of the Mandarin Duck sect, extremely powerful. The wind howled, the energy was like a knife. Li Wanfu's hands were faintly red. It was the phenomenon of internal combustion when he used his internal energy to the extreme. With his internal energy cultivation, if he really did grab a human body, it would be light injuries and broken bones. Serious cases would be death on the spot. Li Wanfu had a violent temper. It was very difficult to escape unscathed from his hands. More or less, a piece of flesh or some other body part would be left. Even if it was just a touch of energy, Snake Lord already felt a burning pain on his back. He was in midair, his strength exhausted. It was too late to turn around. But he didn't need to. His mouth let out a hurried flute sound. A small golden snake came out of his trench coat, hissing and pouncing towards Li Wanfu, who was full of murderous intent. Bastard! Li Wanfu was furious. He had been famous for a long time. His Tai saber was extremely powerful. He rarely met an opponent. Usually, he lived like a prince, no one dared to touch him. He didn't expect a small snake to be so presumptuous in front of him. With a flick of his wrist, a small golden knife jumped into his hand. With a flash of golden light, the small golden snake screamed and was cut in half. After cutting the golden snake, Li Wanfu's speed didn't slow down. His saber momentum didn't stop, stabbing towards Snake Lord's back again. Whoosh! The Snake Lord suddenly turned around and threw a handful of white powder at Li Wanfu. Whoosh! Li Wanfu quickly withdrew his body, and the goshawk turned into a sparrow. His dantian exerted force once more, and his body quickly retreated. Quang quang quang! Li Wanfu's body once again landed on the broken bridge. Because the force of his forward charge was too strong, he retreated a little hurriedly. His body staggered back a few steps before he managed to steady himself. The two energies collided and clashed in his body, and a sweet taste of blood rushed into his throat. He pursed his lips and swallowed it back down. Bao Shi was enraged. As he was about to leap up and chase after Jiang Fengxing, the Snake Lord had already grabbed Jiang Fengxing's neck. Bao Shi snorted, but he could only stare at the Snake Lord coldly. "Since we can't make a deal, let's part ways here," Snake Sovereign said with a smile. He stared at Li Wanfu, Bao Shi and the others and shouted, "Set sail." Kacha, the cruise ship began to move. The Snake Lord flicked his sleeve, and a silver light flashed. The rope tied to the stone pillar of the broken bridge was cut into two pieces. One end was still tied to the stone pillar, while the other was swaying in the wind. "Wait!" Jiang Zhulu anxiously shouted. "Let me make a call." Since it was something that Jiang Junling and Fang Yan had already discussed, it meant that they had already made a decision. What he needed to do now was to ensure the smooth success of this deal. "Go ahead," Snake Lord said. Jiang Zhulu dialed Jiang Junling's number and said, "Young master, I saw fourth uncle, but I didn't see my father." "Zhulu, I already know about this. I didn't tell you because I wasn't sure yet, so I'm leaving this deal to you. I hope you can see it with your own eyes." Jiang Junling comforted him in a soft voice. "No matter how bad the situation is, we're already mentally prepared. What others owe us, they will eventually pay us back." "I understand," Jiang Junling said. "The deal is in progress, they want young master to sign first." "Give me 1 minute," Jiang Junling said. Jiang Zhulu hung up again and waited patiently. The cruise ship's engine roared, but it didn't start to leave. In less than a minute, Snake Lord received the message. He let go of Jiang Fengxing and said, "The deal is done, this ship and the people on it are all yours." After that, he dashed towards the other side of the ship. The people on the other side had already prepared a rubber boat. As soon as Snake Lord jumped on it, the rubber boat split the water and rushed towards the distant deep sea. Eagle King was the first to jump on the boat and threw the cruise ship's rope to them. Li Wanfu grabbed the rope and fastened it to the pillar of the broken bridge again. Li Wanfu and Bao Shi also got on the boat. One went to check the cabin to make sure the cruise ship was safe. The other went to the captain's room to check the direction of the cruise ship. Jiang Zhulu was the last to get on the boat. After rushing to the deck, he untied Jiang Fengxing and asked anxiously, "Dad, how do you feel? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" "I'm fine," Jiang Fengxing said weakly. If Jiang Zhulu didn't hold him up, he wouldn't have been able to stand at all. These days, every day felt like a year to him. Both his mind and body had suffered unimaginable torture. "Where's my dad? Have you seen my dad?" Jiang Fengxing shook his head and said, I don't know, we were separated on the ship. When I woke up, Dragon Pool was already gone. I never saw him again." Jiang Zhulio's eyes were red. He yelled towards the cabin, "Mr. Bao, Mr. Li, have you seen my dad?" "No," Bao Shi'er said as he walked out. "No," Li Wanfu yelled from the cockpit. "There's really nothing left," Jiang Zhulu said hoarsely. "There's really nothing left." He had already guessed that something bad had happened to his father, but he still had a glimmer of hope. Now that he saw Jiang Fengxing, who had disappeared with his father, but there was no trace of his father, he knew that his father was gone for good. He would never come back. Jiang Fengxing was also very sad. He put his hand on Jiang Zhulio's shoulder and comforted him. "Zhulu, don't think too much. Maybe your father has already been rescued, or maybe he's been hidden by them. They're going to ask us for more benefits. Your father is not here. You are the pillar of the Jiang family. You have to take care of yourself. Don't let your body fall." I understand. Jiang Zhulu said with a hideous expression and blood-red eyes. "I'm mentally prepared." "That's good," Jiang Fengxing said tiredly. "Let's go home. Let's go back. I don't want to stay in this damn place for one more second." "Dad, you can't go back," Jiang Zhulu said in a low voice. "What did you say?" Jiang Fengxing's body shook. He vigilantly stared at Jiang Zhulu. He wanted to push Jiang Zhulu away and stand alone, but his legs were shaking. He couldn't bear the weight of his body at all. Jiang Zhulio's eyes became as fierce as a wolf's. He lowered his voice and said, "Someone doesn't want you to go back." Jiang Zhulu raised a syringe that he had prepared earlier and suddenly pierced it towards Jiang Fengxing's heart. Jiang Fengxing felt as if he had been hit by a heavy blow. He wanted to say something, but his mouth was trembling and he couldn't say anything. His body twitched, and a large amount of foam came out of his mouth. His body softly fell into Jiang Zhulio's arms. "How good it would be if you died earlier," Jiang Zhulu said with a hideous smile. Jiang Fengxing couldn't hear his curses anymore, because his heart had stopped beating. "Dad," Jiang Zhulu cried out. "Dad, what's wrong? Dad, don't scare me, help, help." After 3 rounds of tea, Fang Yan's phone on the table finally rang. Fang Yan took the phone and glanced at it. He looked at Jiang Junling, who was sitting opposite him, and said, "Congratulations on our successful transaction." Jiang Junling looked at Fang Yan and said, "Didn't we already have a successful transaction after you got the share transfer contract? At that time, it only represented that I got the Long2 Group's shares." Fang Yan smiled and said, "Only by receiving this message can my people leave safely. You're a good boss who knows how to care for your subordinate." Jiang Junling smiled faintly. "But you're not a good man who knows how to love your family." Fang Yan said mockingly, "Jiang Fengxing probably won't have a chance to go ashore anymore, right?" Jiang Junling's expression was firm. He said, "I don't understand what you mean. Whether it's you or the Jiang family, you won't allow Jiang Fengxing, a man who brought shame to the Jiang family, to come home, right?" Jiang Junling lowered his head and drank his tea. He said calmly, "Fourth uncle is a member of the Jiang family, my family. Of course, we want him to come home. But the sea is stormy. If something happens to him, what else can we do other than grieve?" Fang Yan said with a face full of mockery, "Stormy sea? Not only is the sea stormy, but it's also dangerous on land." Jiang Junling raised his head and looked at Fang Yan. His eyes narrowed, and he asked in a deep voice, "What are you trying to say?" "As a teacher, I won't say things like watching is my territory. If you're a dragon, you have to coil up. If you're a tiger, you have to squat down. That's meaningless and makes me sound very vulgar. As a man with manners, I won't say things like watching's traffic is bad and you have to be careful when crossing the road. That's a strong threat. But what I want to tell you is that from this moment on, watching has entered the era of Fang Yen." Fang Yen smiled as he looked at Jiang Junling. He said, "Whether you like it or not, whether you accept it or not, in watching, you'd better keep a low profile. I don't like people with high profiles. Except myself." Before Fang Yen left the room, he added, Chapter 484. I think those who like to use money or power to oppress people are nouveau riche. Like those who become rich overnight, their mentality is unbalanced, and it is difficult to control their inflated ego, causing them to do things that are irrational and have no bottom line. Fang Yen explained to Lu Chaoge with a serious face, "I won't do such a thing. It's embarrassing." Lu Chaoge didn't answer, because she didn't know how to answer this question. "Do I have money?" Fang Yen looked at Lu Chaoge and asked. "Yes," Lu Chaoge replied. Now, Fang Yen was really rich, a lot of money. Perhaps even he himself didn't know how much profit Chaoyan Technologies shares would bring him every day. Moreover, with Chaoyan Technologies' current valuation of tens of billions of dollars, if he was willing to sell his part of the shares, he could immediately become one of the billionaires in Huaxia. As long as he was willing, he could be on the Forbes rich list in minute. Of course, most of the rich people on the list were actually unwilling to be on it. "Do I have power?" Fang Yen asked. "Yes." Lu Chaoge nodded again. With the Rubik's Cube as the core and Chaoyan Technology as the carrier, Lu Chaoge helped Fang Yen create an alliance that gathered the interests of many parties. Whether it was the Lu family represented by Lu Shu or the Lan family represented by Lan Shan, they all had to surround Fang Yen and show their loyalty as much as possible. Not to mention, there was the unwavering support of the little girl from the Qin family. Now, Fang Yen could be described with two words: monstrous power. "I have money and power." Fang Yen looked at Lu Chaoge's beautiful eyes and said confidently, "And in a situation where we are completely in the right, when I was facing Jiang Junling, wasn't my posture very elegant?" Lu Chaoge thought about it and said with some embarrassment, "It was all right." "Was my tone very calm?" "Sort of. I didn't lose my temper with him, I didn't make a scene with him, I didn't jump up and gesture at his mother, pour the tea on him," Lu Chaoge said. Fang Yan's expression stiffened, and then a puzzled look appeared on his face as he asked, "Really? Have I ever done such a thing?" "Yes." This time, Lu Chaoge nodded firmly. "I remember now. I did do something like that." Fang Yan grinned. "You saw it too. At that time, Jiang Junling was a little nervous when he faced me, so there was a layer of sweat on his face. I was worried that he was hot, so I wanted to help him cool down. I didn't expect the old man beside him to be even more greedy. He actually stretched out his sleeve and took the cup of tea away. Maybe old people are more afraid of heat. If you really want to explain it like that." The corner of Lu Chaoge's mouth slightly curled up, and there was a faint smile on her face as she said, "Then I choose to believe you." Fang Yen also smiled. His smile was clean and pure. "I am now a noble," Fang Yen said. "Yes." Lu Chaoge bowed slightly to Fang Yen and said, "Sir Fang Yen, will you still cook and wash the dishes tonight?" The two of them looked at each other and laughed unrestrainedly. They had been suppressed for too long, and they had been held hostage by hatred for too long. Every word was like a knife, and every gaze was hidden with murderous intent. Lu Chaoge hated the people around him who coveted the Rubik's Cube and could endanger his life at any time. Fang Yen hated the killers who took away his life and the joy of his family. At this moment, they were smiling from the bottom of their hearts. There was no hatred, no murderous intent, only a feeling of complete relaxation in both body and mind. Lu Chaoga reached out and held Fang Yan's hand. She looked straight into Fang Yan's smiling eyes and said softly, "Fang Yan, I like you like this. You don't know, when I saw you again 3 years later, how scary your gaze was. At that time, my hands and feet were cold, as if I was being stared at by a terrifying monster. Although it was just a glance, and you changed very quickly, it still left me with a lingering fear. I can understand your life in the past 3 years, and I also know what you have been through these years. At that time, I felt that you were both strange and familiar. I was afraid and pitiful. I reached out and held your hand. I wanted you to feel my strength, to feel my warmth, to make your heart feel a little better so that you were not so murderous. And when you were talking to Jiang Junling just now, your expression was ferocious, and your pupils were bloodshot. You were like a werewolf who could pounce on others at any time, bite off their blood vessels and drink their blood. The murderous intent in your eyes was too strong, and the hostility in your heart was too heavy. At that time, I felt that I was looking at a complete stranger." The smile on Fang Yan's face was still there. He looked lovingly at Lu Chaoga, who was holding his hand tighter and tighter. He could feel her wholehearted care, and he could also feel the worry that she had not spoken out. From the first day they met, he knew that she was worried about his emotions and his psychological state. She was worried about everything about him. But as smart as she was, she did not say anything. What could you say to a barrel of dynamite? She just used her consideration to take care of Fang Yan, and her gentleness to melt Fang Yan. She hoped that the volcano would cool down. She hoped that the dynamite would stop. She hoped that Fang Yan could return to the state that he wanted in the end. However, before she could do more, she was kidnapped. She thought that she needed to go through another course of treatment. She thought that everything would have to start again. But what made her ecstatic was that Fang Yan actually walked out on his own. Although it was just a tentative step, this foot could be pulled back at any time. But she knew that their opportunity had come. It was today, and it was now. She chose to have an open and honest talk with Fang Yan. She thought that she had made the right bet, and she also hoped that she had made the right bet. "Fang Yan, I don't know how to resolve the murderous intent in your heart, and I don't know how to make the hostility in your heart disappear. I don't care about the life and death of Jiang Junling or anyone else, and I don't care about the life and death of anyone else, but I care about you. How can your body bear so many things? Fang Yan, you are not that kind of person. You have always been a simple and kind man. You are very smart, but you use your intelligence on the things that you like. You know how to strategize, but you never abuse your intelligence to hurt the innocent. There are too many bad people in this world, but too few good people. Don't squeeze into the group of bad people, and be a good person. Isn't that good? That's the only way you'll be truly happy. You can laugh heartlessly, you can say things that make people very angry but also very funny, and you can do things that others can't think of and can't do. This is the Fang Yan, this is the you that I know." Lu Chaoga held Fang Yan's hand tightly, as if she wanted to pull the previous Fang Yan out. "Fang Yan, you are too tired now. You are tired, and those of us who care about you are tired too," Lu Chaoga said emotionally. "If you laugh, we will laugh too." Fang Yan held Lu Chaoga's beautiful hand back, and it was a promise to her. "I like quiet, simple, and poetic life, where I can see the golden sunlight and breathe the fresh air the moment I open my eyes." Lu Chaoga's eyes lit up and she said, "Yes, this is the Fang Yan, this is the state of life that you should find back." "Wait for me to kill all those bad people," Fang Yan said with a serious expression. Seeing that Lu Chaoga's face was full of worry again, Fang Yan pretended to be in deep thought and said, "However, when you take revenge, you can also enjoy life, right?" In the funeral parlor, Jiang Shangxin suddenly felt a heart-wrenching pain as she looked at the cold face of the man on the morgue. This was her father, the father who gave birth to and raised her, the father who bought her countless toys and taught her to sing nursery rhymes and play games. He was also the man that she was most attached to and liked when she was young. At that time, he was her sorcerer and guardian knight. As she grew older, she knew more and more things, and her feelings for her father became weaker and weaker. In the end, she went to school, studied abroad, and had her own company and career. Sometimes, she didn't even see her father for a year. She didn't feel that anything was wrong, and whoever left could live equally well. Moreover, that was a man who made her carry the shame. Now, he was gone. He would never talk to her again, he would never let her take care of herself again, he would never call her when he was drunk and say that his daughter's father missed her again, she could never do anything again. This was the last side, and very soon, the corpse would be incinerated into a pile of ashes. This was the final fate of humans. However, to her and her father, wasn't this moment a little too early? The bones in both legs were fractured, and they were then fixed with splints as a disguise. The fatal injury was caused by a heart defibrillator. This drug is very popular in the European black market, and it is an advanced poison that can cause rapid heart failure. If one is poisoned by this drug, there is basically no cure. Because there is simply no time. The doctor in charge of the autopsy reported to Li Yun in a low voice. "Madam, please restrain your grief." "You may leave," Li Yun said expressionlessly. The doctor nodded and quickly left the morgue that made one feel extremely suffocated. He felt that it was very strange. This wasn't his first time performing an autopsy, and he was more familiar with corpses than with women's bodies. In the past, he could do it with ease, but why did it feel so strange today? Perhaps it was because the employer this time was too powerful. Li Yun glanced at Jiang Zhulu and said, "Zhulu, what's going on?" "When I arrived, Dad could still talk to me, and he even shouted for me to save him. After we finished the deal with Fong Yen, he fell on top of me. At that time, I still didn't know what happened," Jiang Zhulu explained with a sorrowful expression. "I believe you." Li Yun's gaze was as sharp as a knife. "But I hope this is the last time. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.